Hey family, welcome back to my video. Today we will see, what if Naruto had Erza as his lusty maid? Before we start, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the original author of this story. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. Now enjoy the video. The Valley of the End, how nostalgic. A blond man muttered as he stared across the ravine at a raven-haired man who stared disinterestedly back at him. The blonde was wearing a white cape with flames licking the bottom seemingly alive as it shifted in the wind. He was tall, and his frame spoke of the power held within. He also wore a pair of red pants which held two weapons pouches on either side of his hips. Across his forehead was a metal plate with a symbol of a leaf. Along his face were 3 whisker marks on each side. His sapphire blue eyes stared at the man across from him with a detached expression as he mumbled, "Sasuke." The man, Sasuke, wore a blue hakama, a white gi, and his obi was a purple robe that formed a bow on his back. His raven-colored hair swayed in the wind as his dark onyx eyes stared straight through his opponent. At his side he held a katana in its sheath. "Naruto," he mumbled audibly for the other to hear him. Naruto sighed. "Sasuke, today is the day I end it all." He began as he pulled out a scroll and unfurled it a bit. "I've already killed Madara and Kabuto. You're the only one left." Sasuke smirked. "As if you could dobe." He taunted as he unsheathed his sword. "I was, and still am stronger than you. You'll lose like always and then you can go join Sakura in the afterlife." Naruto scowled remembering the day Sasuke had killed Sakura. "I'll never forgive you for that," he muttered angrily. He suddenly tossed the scroll into the air and shifted his hands into a sign. Naruto remained silent as numerous tri-tipped kunai knives rained down littering the area around him, Sasuke, and the area in between them. "I'm sure you recognize these," he muttered darkly as he prepared himself. Sasuke's eyes widened as he jumped away. "You didn't," he roared as Naruto vanished in a flash of yellow. "I did," he muttered as he kicked Sasuke towards the ground, following after him faster than Sasuke could see, even with his Sharingan. However, Sasuke was not considered a prodigy for nothing as he righted himself in mid-air and swiped at Naruto's fading image. "You think your worthless father's technique will help you?" he roared in defiance. "It already has Teme," Naruto whispered from behind Sasuke, a swirling blue ball of chakra in his hand. "Rasengan," he shouted as he drove the mass of energy into Sasuke's back. Screaming in pain, Sasuke was launched into the opposite wall with a loud crash. Naruto disappeared and reappeared next to the crater as he reached in and pulled Sasuke up by the hair. "You think that's enough to stop me?" Sasuke whispered as his eyes shifted into Mangekyo. "Think again." Amaterasu, he never got to finish as Naruto drove another Rasengan into his stomach, propelling him into the wall again. Slowly he came loose and fell onto the floor. Naruto scowled down at him. "You really think I'd let you use the black flames?" He paused as he remembered his fallen comrades. "Choji and Kiba both fell to you through that technique. You won't kill anyone else with that technique ever again," Naruto stated as he formed another Rasengan. "Itachi took away your cursed form with his dying breath. He had freed you, but then you go to the man he wanted to protect you from." He knelt down next to Sasuke, who vainly tried to escape. "Today," he pulled his arm back. "I correct the mistakes we made," he roared as he drove the ball home, killing Sasuke, his once-upon-a-time friend. Naruto jumped away and landed on the Shoden's head. Sitting down he cried softly, "I'm sorry I couldn't save you earlier," he muttered as a strange light started to appear in the sky. "Naruto." Naruto turned his head towards the voice. It was a lavender-haired girl with pale eyes wearing form-fitting pants and a loose purple sweater. "Oh, thank God you're all right." She breathed a sigh of relief as she wrapped him in a hug. "Hinata-chan," he mumbled as he kissed her. "It's over. Sasuke is dead," he muttered as he held her closer to him. "Kiba, Choji, and Sakura can all rest in peace now," he told her as she began to sob into his shirt. More figures appeared around him. "That's good to hear, Naruto." It was a man with gravity-defying gray hair, a typical Junin outfit, a face mask that covered half his face, and his forehead protector covered his left eye. His visible eye crinkled into an upside-down U, signifying that he was smiling. "Kakashi-sensei," Naruto muttered as he looked around. Yamato, Taiko, Ino, Shikamaru, Lee, Tenten, Neji, Shino, Kurenai-sensei, Gai-sensei, Sai, and even Anko. You're all here, he muttered surprised. Anko slapped him on the back with a hearty chuckle. There's more, but we got here first, she announced with a smile. Good work out there, brat. Naruto chuckled softly. Thanks, Anko, he murmured with a wide grin. It's all finally over. He mumbled softly as Kakashi jumped down to double-check Sasuke's corpse. Yamato patted him on the shoulder. Sakura would be happy, Naruto, he stated as Sai, who remained silent, nodded his head with a real smile on his face. Ino hugged him as Shikamaru patted his other shoulder. Thanks, Naruto, maybe now Choji can rest in peace. Shikamaru muttered as Ino began to sob at the death of her friend. Shino nodded his head. Thank you, Naruto, he muttered softly as Naruto nodded his head. Kurenai, holding onto her child, nodded sadly. Kiba was a good student. I hope he finds peace, she stated as she patted Naruto's head, causing him to pout. Team Guy walked up and each congratulated him. Yash, Naruto-kun's flames of youth burn brightly today, Lee shouted as he pumped his hands into the air. Tenten smiled down at him. Thanks, Naruto, Sakura was a good friend of mine. Her smile turned sad as a tear escaped her eyes. Neji patted her on the back comfortingly as he nodded his head towards Naruto. Naruto, you really are a beacon of hope, aren't you? He asked with a smile. Naruto laughed nervously. I wouldn't say that, he trailed off as he noticed the light in the sky getting brighter. What's that? He asked, pointing up. The group looked up and gasped. What is that thing? Ino muttered in shock and a bit of fear as the light narrowed in size. Hinata fearfully wrapped her arms around her soon-to-be husband. Don't take him away from me, she pleaded as she held onto him tighter. As if despite her, the light suddenly shone on Naruto and he felt himself being pulled away. No, I will not be taken from her, he shouted in rage as the group frantically tried to keep him in place. Hinata began to cry as she latched onto Naruto. No, 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 don't take him away, please, she trailed off as tears started pouring down her face. Don't take the father of my unborn child away, she cried as Naruto whipped his head towards her. What, Hinata? He gulped, swallowing the lump in his throat. My child? He asked slowly as he tried to resist the pull. Hinata nodded her head as she wrapped her arms around his neck. Yes, during that one night of passion, I became pregnant with your child, Naruto-kun, she replied as she tightened her grip. Although shocked by the revelation, the others did not relent in trying to keep Naruto where he was. Damn it, that just gives him an even bigger reason not to be taken away, Anko shouted as she tried to tie Naruto down in hopes that the light would go away. You can't take a kid's dad away just like that, she shouted. Guy and Kakashi each grabbed a leg as they pulled down. Naruto finally has someone to love. Do not take him away from her, Kakashi roared as he and Guy tried to stop Naruto from ascending. Shino tried to have his bugs interfere with the light, but they couldn't touch it. It's not chakra, he called out. The Kakaichu can't eat it. Shikamaru scrambled to form a Kage main no jutsu and connected it to Naruto. However, he started to rise with it. Gah! What the hell is going on? He shouted as he lost his concentration and fell on his ass. Yamato and Sai both created restricting bindings and wrapped Tem around Naruto as he continued to rise ever so slowly. Damn it, what's going on? Yamato shouted as he heard the other shinobi coming up the hill. Seeing the spectacle, many of the shinobi who knew Naruto rushed forward to provide aid as they tried to keep him where he was. Naruto, what the hell is going on? Tsunade shouted as she bear-hugged Naruto and Hinata, keeping them in place. I don't know, this light just appeared out of nowhere and began sucking me up, he shouted as he gripped onto the wood that surrounded him. Suddenly the light got brighter as it knocked every save Hinata away. Hinata clung on to him tightly, sobbing the entire time. Don't leave me, she pleaded. Naruto saw the futility of resisting and cupped her cheeks. Hinata, I will survive. I promise you I'll try to find my way back to you. He cried a bit as tears started forming. Don't cry, he said as he wiped her tears away. Raise our child properly, if it's a boy, Arashi, if it's a girl, Kogan. Hinata realized what he was saying and clung onto him tighter. Please no, she begged as she sought his lips for possibly the last time. I love you so much, Naruto-kun. Naruto kissed her before he spoke. I love you too, please be strong, for me. As he spoke, his body began to fade as everyone From the Alliance watched in horror. Naruto leaned in for one last kiss as his body began to fade even more. Hina, before he could finish her name or plant one last kiss, Uzumaki Naruto was gone. A golden dust where he once was, floated through Hinata's grasp and rose into the air. Hinata shed tears by the bucket loads as she cried to the heavens for the love of her life, and the father of her child. The Alliance could only watch in sympathy as the girl's close friends consoled her as many of them all watched the light who stole their hero away vanished into thin air. Earthland outside Magnolia Town, Mistgun glanced up when he sensed the large buildup of magical energy. Another one. He muttered as he began his preparations. Once finished, he thrusted his staff up and dispersed the forming anima as a figure fell out of it heading straight towards him. That's not good. He muttered in worry as he jumped to the left as the figure descended crashing into the spot he had just occupied. Ow! Where am I? A male voice asked as the dust began to settle. Naruto glanced around his landing spot and immediately saw the oddly dressed man staring at him with what he assumed was surprise. Do you know where I am? He asked. Mistgun quickly snapped out of his thoughts. You're in the Kingdom of Fury near the city of Magnolia. He stated only to blink when Naruto scratched his head in confusion. Fury? He paused, rolling the name around his tongue a bit. Is that near Hai no Kuni? He asked, trying to figure out if he could get home. Mistgun blinked. No, he stated, quite sure none of the surrounding countries were called as such. Is that where you're from? He asked. Naruto nodded his head as he slowly got to his feet. Yeah, I had just finished off the trader when this weird light sucked me up, ripped me away from my fiancé, he added bitterly. Mistgun sighed. That stranger was called an anima. I'm afraid that it's my father's fault. The anima is a spell used to suck up beings with magical energy in them to be used as a power source for our kingdom. He paused, gauging the stranger's reaction. However, I who don't condone such actions have taken steps to make sure the smaller ones fail. Naruto quietly processed what he had been told. It sounds like I'm not even in the same world anymore. He muttered. Is there somewhere I can go to try and find a way back home? Mistgun shook his head. I'm afraid that the residents of this world, myself included, only have a partial understanding of the anima. However, your best bet would be with a mage guild. Mistgun showed him his tattoo. This shows I'm part of the guild fairy tale. Naruto nodded his head. Am I correct to assume that these guilds take on requests from others who need a powerful aid? He asked with a tilt of his head. Mistgun nodded his head, pleasantly surprised that Naruto was able to figure it out on his own. Correct. Does the world you come from have something similar? He asked politely. Naruto nodded. Sort of. We're shinobi, we take on jobs for money, however I'm going to take a wild guess and assume guilds don't take on assassinations. He stated, to which the man in front of him nodded. No, we do not. Those are considered illegal and will result in a guild being branded a dark guild. He explained. Mistgun glanced curiously at the blonde standing in front of him. Is it different in your own world? He asked cautiously. Naruto shrugged his shoulders. We're soldiers, we do as we're told. He stated, you want the enemy leader dead? We'll give you a corpse. You want to take an enemy base? We'll decorate it in your favorite color upon your arrival. He joked, though Mistgun really couldn't tell that well. Mistgun glanced at the sky and sighed. I myself am on a job right now, so I should be going. He fished around in his cloak. Here, give this to Master Makarov. It's a letter of recommendation to enter the guild. Generally you don't need it, but just in case. It was a card with the same design as Mistgun's tattoo. Naruto smiled and accepted the card. Thanks. Which way? He asked, clueless as to where the guild actually was. Mistgun pointed straight ahead. Just go that way, the guild is fairly hard to miss. Naruto glanced in the direction before nodding. Right, I'll see you later then, he stated as he started walking. Suddenly he stopped. Oh yeah, I never asked your name. He turned, but the other was already gone. TCH, must have been that magic he kept on mentioning. Shrugging his shoulders, he kept walking. Glancing around after walking for a minute, Naruto bit his thumb and began to perform a set of seals, Kachiyose no Jutsu. He muttered as he pressed his hand against the ground. Naru ni, you're alright. Gamakichi shouted in surprise as he stared at the blonde nin. We all thought something terrible happened to you. Naruto nodded his head. Well, I'm unhurt if that was what you were worried about, but I don't think I'm anywhere in the elemental countries. The man who happened to stop the thing that sucked me up explained that it was some sort of interdimensional spell that his father uses in order to capture magic for their own gain. Gamakichi scratched his head. What? I know I was thinking the same thing at first. Either way, I want you to deliver a message to everyone that I'm fine, but I might not be able to return for a while or at all for that matter. He paused as the image of Hinata's tears filled his mind. I'll summon you again when I have more information. Oh yeah, when I summon you next time, could you bring me an update about how everyone is doing? Gamakichi saluted as he spoke. No problem, it'll take some doing without an active summoner in the village, but we'll manage. He paused. We tried to reverse summon you, but it seems that we couldn't get a lock on your chakra. Naruto sighed. All right. Anyways, I'll see you around, Gamakichi. The toad nodded before poofing away as Naruto continued to walk. Walking through the town turned out to be quite eventful, as many of the people stopped what they were doing to stare at him as he looked around in a small amount of awe. Pretty big city. He mused as he kept walking. Must be some sort of festival coming up. He mused as he noted various decorations being put up around the town. Sighing, he tapped someone on the shoulder. Hey, which way to get to Fairy Tale? He asked politely. The man he had asked turned out to be some shop owner as he kindly pointed to his left. Down that street and then turn right at the 5th intersection. Thanks. Naruto, following the man's instructions, stood in front of the large building with what he recognized as low-lever coding stating that the place was in fact the guild he was looking for. Do I just walk in? He wondered aloud, ignoring the rumbling happening inside. Well, whatever. Opening the door, Naruto blinked as a small brown came hurtling at him. What? He managed to ask just before the thing hit him. The mug, as he realized the object to be spilled its contents all over the poor blonde, who calmly spat out the beer that had trickled into his mouth. The guild, who had turned their heads to face the newcomer, watched in anticipation, wondering what their visitor would do. Who's he? An older man asked as he glanced at his smoking friend. Who knows? The man responded as he puffed his pipe. A pink-haired boy laughed loudly as he pointed at Naruto. Ha, you got beer all over you, pal. He shouted as he clutched his stomach in pain. A blue cat shouted as he flew around. The black-haired boy next to him scoffed as he began to remove his clothing, though he didn't seem to notice. Natsu, don't be an ass. What if this guy is with the council? He asked as he glared at the now named Natsu. Naruto coughed into his hand, rather upset at being ignored. Yeah, can I get a towel? He asked as he gestured at himself. And the name of the person who hit me with this beer? He added, sounding completely innocent. The girl, who Naruto assumed was the barmaid, quickly provided him with the requested towel and the name. Hello. My name is Mirajane. She stated as she bowed politely. And it was probably, she paused to look around. Natsu who threw it, though maybe it flew because he slammed someone into the table. She wondered as she rubbed her chin in thought. Naruto nodded his head absently, surprised by the rather large amount of beautiful women around. They don't compare to Hinata though. He thought loyally of his fiancée. Thanks, Mirajane-san. He mumbled as he picked up a beer and turned towards the rosy-haired youth. Without warning, he threw the mug as hard as he could. Straight at Natsu's head. Eat it, punk! He roared as the mug hit its target. The crowd's sweat dropped. Well, that was expected. They mumbled in unison as Natsu turned on the blonde angrily. What the hell, man? He shouted as he charged forward, intent on punching Naruto's face in. You poured beer over my head. Naruto grabbed his wrist and turned as he squatted as low as he could, all the while pulling Natsu with him, as he suddenly stood straight and brought Natsu down in a perfect COE nage. That was for ruining my favorite jacket. He muttered angrily as he released Natsu's wrist and turned back towards Mirajane, who blinked in surprise. So, where do I sign up? He suddenly whipped his fist up over his right shoulder, conking Natsu right in the face, causing him to stumble backwards. So you want to join Fairy Tale, do you? An elderly voice asked as a rather small old man smiled at him. Yeah, I met a hooded guy in the forest and he gave me directions here when I asked where the nearest guild I could join was. He paused, considering his story. Never got his name though. He pulled out the card. Here. And gave it to the old man, who he assumed was Master Makarov that Mistgun had told him about. Makarov glanced at it before widening his eyes. This is Mistgun's, he mumbled out loud, surprising the guild. Well, if he says you're good enough, then all I can say is, welcome to Fairy Tale. He shouted as everyone raised their beer mugs high into the air. Cheers for the new guy, they shouted as they all downed their drinks. I'm going to kick your ass, there was that too. And well, I hope every likes this. Okay. Things I should point out. 1. Mistgun just helped someone being taken from one world to the next by the anima spell. He figures that Naruto deserves an explanation. 2. Mistgun being more talkative, again he feels that Naruto deserves an explanation. 3. Naruto taking the change so well, he's a ninja, they adapt to situations quickly, it's how they survive. 4. Naruto and Hinata, I kind of think they'll really end up together. 5. Naruto has experience in fights, someone charging him with their fists raised is not a big threat to him and easily taken care of. I think those will be the answers to most of the questions, but if you have more, feel free to ask them. I'll answer them in the next chapter in either the story or the author's note at the beginning. Introductions. Hey guys, so far there have been votes for Kana, Mirajane, Erza, Levi, or a harem with all of the above. I'm still listening to opinions, so keep voting. Speech. Thoughts. Techniques. Dragon, demon speech. Last time. Makarov glanced at it before widening his eyes. This is Mistgun's, he mumbled out loud, surprising the guild. Well, if he says you're good enough, then all I can say is, welcome to Fairy Tale. He shouted as everyone raised their beer mugs high into the air. Cheers for the new guy, they shouted as they all downed their drinks. I'm going to kick your ass, there was that too. Introductions. Naruto smirked as he sat at a table drinking a beer. Interesting people. He muttered amusedly as he looked around the guild, blatantly ignoring the hot-headed Natsu who was screaming at him for a match. You say something, Natsu? He asked, turning his attention to the pink-haired boy. The blonde girl, Lucy, if he remembered correctly, gawked at him. He's completely comfortable here already, she screamed in shock. As her eyes bulged and her jaw dropped. He totally is. The cat happy announced as he held a paw over his mouth, hiding his laughter. Gray rubbed his head, annoyed. Natsu, give it a rest already, it's obvious he ain't going to fight you. Shut up, Gray. I'm going to beat his ass, Natsu screamed as he finally decided to charge Naruto head-on instead of trying to goad the blonde male into a fight. Take this, he roared as he thrust a flaming fist at Naruto's face. Natsu, stop. An armored red-haired woman shouted as she stormed over, intent on stopping Natsu from harming the new member. However, there was no need for her to do so, as Naruto, quick as lightning, tilted his head to the side while grabbing onto Natsu's arm and hitting him in the stomach with enough force to knock the wind out of the boy. Shifting his grip, he lifted Natsu as high into the air as he could before slamming the boy back down into the ground with a loud thud. The guild stopped everything as they watched in awe of Naruto's efficiency. He took Natsu out without a sweat. The smoker from earlier mumbled to his purple-haired friend. That he did, Wakaba. That he did. Mikao replied as he watched Natsu struggle to his feet. But Natsu ain't that easy to keep down. 5,000 jewels on the new guy. Wakaba responded instantly. Mikao grinned. You're on. Natsu shook his head, shaking the blurriness out of his eyes as he grinned at Naruto. I knew you were strong, he stated as he got to his feet. Now I'm even more pumped up to fight you. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You're not very bright, are you? He asked rhetorically, causing a few snickers to rise amongst the crowd. But if it will get you to leave me alone for now, I'm all for it. Hold it. The red-haired girl from earlier shouted as she stepped between the two. Take it outside, we just rebuilt the guild. She barked at them with a glare that threatened pain if they didn't comply. Natsu gulped nervously a bit before nodding his head. Fine, Erza, we'll go outside. He mumbled as he headed towards the back door leading to an isolated area of the city. Naruto grinned from ear to ear. Well, now at least I know who wears the pants in this guild. He called out mockingly, causing Natsu's ears to burn red with anger. He wasn't the only one either, as many of the men of the guild glared at Naruto's laughing form. Erza also glared at him as she asked in a deceptively calm voice, and pray tell me what you mean by that? She pulled out a sword for good measure. Naruto rotated his neck a bit as he started to jump up and down to get his blood pumping. Just noting who is the superior guild member, he stated nonchalantly, causing everyone else to glare. You bastard! Natsu screamed out as he charged forward. Karyu no Tekken, Before he could even get close, Naruto had lashed out with a ferocious kick that knocked Natsu away and landing roughly a couple meters away. Bastard! Natsu muttered as he glared at Naruto. Naruto merely stared impassively at him. Are we done yet? He asked, bored of the whole thing. Cause I still need to find somewhere to live right now. Ice make. Lance. A voice shouted as Naruto's instincts roared at him to dodge, and dodge he did as a lance of ice impacted the spot he had just been standing. You're pretty good, but how do you stack up against my ice make magic? The semi-naked teen shouted as he began barraging Naruto with ice lances. Naruto merely dodged them all with minimal effort. You seem smarter than Natsu, but your attacks are predictable. The blonde intoned as he appeared in front of the young ice mage. You're 100 years early to think about fighting me. He roared as he landed a harsh blow to Gray's stomach, knocking the boy away coughing violently. Gray-sama. A purple-haired girl called out in worry as she angrily turned on the blonde. Juvia will not forgive you for harming Gray-sama, she shouted as she turned into water. Waterlock. Naruto groaned. How did it turn out this way? He bemoaned as he simply dodged around Juvia's attacks, which were far too slow to actually hit him. Erza watched it all with a keen eye as she folded her arms in conversation with Lucy. He's very strong, she stated, causing Lucy to gape at her. Even Erza thinks so, she cried out loud. Just how strong is this new guy? She screamed some more as Happy flew around the area. Erza glanced at her. Lucy, you've noticed it too, right? She asked. Lucy visibly calmed down as she turned back to the fight. What do you mean, Erza? She asked, confused about what the red-haired woman was trying to point out. Am I missing something? Erza pointed at Naruto's form as he easily hopped around all of the attacks Juvia and now Natsu as well launched at him. What kind of magic is he using? She asked questioningly. Lucy squinted, trying to see what Erza was evidently seeing. I don't see anything, she finally admitted after a moment of trying to see Naruto's magic. Do you know his magic? Erza shook her head. That's just it, she stated seriously. He isn't using any. Everyone who heard her widened their eyes. I've been trying to sense it since the fight started, and he hasn't used a single bit of magic the entire fight. Levi, a book lover and a member of the Team Shadow Gear, stared in shock. No magic? She asked in disbelief. There's no way anyone should be able to keep up with those two without magic. Makarov glanced at Erza. Erza-chan, why don't you see if you can coax his magic out? The guild master asked mischievously as Erza smirked. Do be sure not to harm the guild or the city though. Stretching her arms out, Erza nodded her head. As you wish, master, she acknowledged as she re-equipped a sword and took a stance. I will force him to show us his true ability, she stated ominously as she charged forward. Master, isn't that over the top? Levi asked worriedly, watching as Naruto simply dodged Erza, his primary focus still on Gray, who was shooting lance after lance. Naruto-san might get hurt. Don't make me laugh. A new, deeper voice stated, causing Levi to jump in surprise. Gajeel-kun. She muttered as he stared at the fight. There's no way those four will make him serious, just look at him. They did so, still no magic, and he adapted to Titania easily. Naruto laughed as he simply jumped around all of their attacks. What's wrong, getting tired already? He called out, seeing Natsu, Gray, and Juvia starting to take larger breaths. You guys may be powerhouses, but you lack control, he admonished as he continued to duck and weave around Erza, much to said girl's ire. She suddenly re-equipped another sword and swung it at Naruto's side. Seeing that he had no time to block, she smirked as they would finally see his magic. Clang! Stunned, Erza barely brought up her defenses in time to block the powerful kick that sent her skidding backwards. Re-equip? She asked herself in surprise as she stared at the blonde man before her, who was twirling a rather odd knife on his right index finger. You use re-equip magic? She asked as she stood up straight. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Re-equip? He asked as he tilted his head. What's that? Everyone face faulted as they all roared at him. You don't even know your own magic. Naruto dug some earwax out of his ear in response. It's not magic, he stated simply. He straightened out his arm and slid his kunai knife towards his sleeve. To everyone's amazement, his knife began sliding into his sleeve on its own. I just pulled out my knife, he explained as he flicked his wrist and his knife reappeared. See? Shaking herself out of her reverie, Erza scowled. So we have yet to see your magic. she concluded as she took her stance. That simply means this fight continues. Lucy trembled in fear. Erza's scary. She screamed as she hid behind a counter near Mirajane. How can that guy be unaffected? She screamed in shock as she watched Naruto roll his neck around as he pulled out another knife. Mirajane shrugged. Maybe he's used to stuff like this? She suggested as she rubbed her hands together. I hope Erza-chan doesn't break anything. Erza was getting more and more frustrated by her lack of ability to force Naruto to use his abilities. Show your magic already, she roared as she re-equipped different armor. Circle sword, she shouted as a literal circle of swords formed around her and began to rotate, creating a saw-like effect. Naruto simply jumped over it with a sweat drop. How did a fist fight develop a placement test? He asked, slightly confused. Fine, you want to see my magic, do you? He asked as he stopped jumping around and stood his ground. I'll show you a fraction of it. He began to concentrate as he brought his hand to his mouth. Natsu scoffed. What is he going to blow something at her? He put his arms behind his head. Like that'll do anything to Erza. Naruto stared at Erza. This is a very simple technique of mine and most likely my least deadly offensive one. Everyone suddenly became much more wary of what the blonde may do. Futon. Daitopa. Taking a deep breath, he blew as if blowing away a feather off of his hand. Therefore the shock the members of Fairy Tail displayed when Erza was blown back by gale force winds was understandable. Juvia blinked a few times before fixing her hair and straightening out her clothing. Juvia is surprised by Naruto-san's power, she stated easily, causing everyone else to nod their heads dumbly. Gray, eyes wide with disbelief, voiced his own opinion. That was insane. No one should be able to do that just by blowing. He turned towards Naruto, who was dusting his hands off. Just who are you? He asked as the others just stared, for too shocked too much of anything else. Erza, a bit shaken up but otherwise unharmed, stepped forward. An explanation and a proper introduction is in order, I believe, she stated as a fact more than an opinion. Makarov agreed. That's some pretty powerful magic you got there, Naruto. You a dragon slayer or something? He asked, catching everyone else's attention. Naruto tilted his head to the side. I've been called many things, but Dragon Slayer wasn't one of them, he replied jokingly. There were a few chuckles from the crowd. Really now, Naruto began again as he pondered a bit. Well, depending on who you ask, you'd get different titles for me, and depending on when you asked, you'd also get different answers, he explained, confusing the guild. Multiple titles? At your age? Unbelievable, Makarov stated as he narrowed his eyes. Do tell us what they were, he said, though Naruto could tell it wasn't a request. Sighing heavily as he prepared himself, Naruto lifted a hand indicating the first name. When I was growing up, I was called many unsavory things. Demon, hell spawn, monster, murderer, killer, brat, loser, the most common ones. He shrugged as he ignored the wide, nervous eyes that now stared at him. That was the past though. Now there are two things people primarily call me by. Godslayer Namikaze and K's no Senin. Once finished listing, he spread his arms wide and bowed. A pleasure to meet you all. Natsu narrowed his eyes. Those were some pretty nasty things people called you. Why did they do it? He asked as he glared at the blonde. Naruto stared at him. That's none of your business now, is it? He asked jovially as he started walking towards the guild. Can we go inside? I want a drink, he asked with a smile that just seemed odd to the guild. Master, Erza began, only to stop when he raised his hand. Don't judge him, Erza. He's been through a lot, I can tell. He started walking in as well. When he feels like it, he'll tell us more. Reluctantly, the guild followed their master into the building where Naruto was already happily serving up beer. Ah, there you guys are, he declared happily as he started passing out beers. Was beginning to think you guys all fell asleep outside or something. Macau forced a grin. Something like that, he stated, causing a few hesitant chuckles around the guild as everything more or less went back to normal. Hey Naruto, come here and have a drink with me, a brown-haired girl called out as she held up a barrel of ale. Sweat dropping, Naruto jogged over with his own mug of beer. Kana, right? He asked. He smiled when she nodded her head. What's up? He asked, knowing she didn't call him over just for a drink, though the drink probably played a big part of it. I wanted to know if you wanted your fortune told, she explained as she pulled out her cards. I'm pretty accurate, she boasted as she shuffled her deck. Naruto closed his eyes. All right. He finally agreed. I'll bite, go ahead and read me my fortune. Kana nodded her head as she began to shuffle her cards some more. All right, it'll only take a minute. She explained as she started laying out cards. Flipping 3 of them over, Kana frowned. Huh. She mused aloud, catching the guild's attention. The caged heart, the shield and the reaper, she muttered to herself as she glanced at Naruto. The first one means that your true love is being kept away from you or vice versa, and that it is out of your reach. Naruto seemed to deflate a little as she continued. The shield represents who you are. You're a shield protecting those behind you. She explained before pointing at the last one, which depicted a skeleton in black robes wielding a mighty scythe. This one is always a tricky one to read. There are 3 possibilities for this one. She paused, seeing Naruto frown as he looked at the card. The first one is of course that you will die, the second is that you will bring death about, and the third one is that you'll be surrounded by death. Naruto's frown deepened as he stared at the cards. Really now? He asked before he started to grin. I'm afraid it would be the second one. I am a soldier after all. He pointed out before he took a seat and started to drink his beer. Besides, after everything is said and done, I still killed people for a living. Naruto seemed to become distant as he stared at the wall of the guild as he silently drank his beer, making the others uncomfortable. Makarov, seeing the atmosphere, walked up to Naruto. Naruto, my boy, do you want to talk about it? He asked, placing a hand on Naruto's back, being unable to reach his shoulder. Naruto glanced thankfully at Makarov. No, I'm okay. He denied as he stood up. I think I'm going to go look for a place to live. He stated as he walked towards the guild's door. Nice meeting all of you. With that said, he walked out of the guild, leaving behind a group of worried fairies. Erza turned back towards Makarov. Master, he worries me, she stated as she clutched her hands tightly. He isn't stable, she explained. Natsu disagreed. Nah, I think he's just trying to get over his past, he muttered, resting his hands behind his head in boredom. Besides, Mistgun may be a jerk for putting us all to sleep whenever he shows up, but he'd never send someone dangerous to us. Gray nodded his head. For once Natsu's right. He ignored Natsu's indignant shout. We should have a little faith in Mistgun's judgment. Gray, your clothes. Kana pointed out, ruining the mood. You don't sound as cool when you're half naked. She pointed out as Gray searched desperately for his clothing. Anyways, I agree with these two. Naruto doesn't seem like such a bad guy, maybe a little arrogant and cold, but he's not dangerous to us. She seemed to pause. Though I wonder what type of magic he uses. He mentioned that giant whirlwind of his was his least deadly attack. Does that make him a wind mage? Natsu suddenly looked excited. I don't know, but that was way more awesome than I thought it'd be. He shouted as he pumped his fists into the air. All he did was blow at Erza, and suddenly this huge wind comes out of nowhere. It was clear to everyone present that Natsu was beginning to respect Naruto's power. Erza nodded her head. It was most impressive and it caught me on my heels. She admitted with a small smile. He is definitely S-class. Seriously? Gray asked, nearly catatonic in shock. Just with that you can tell? He asked, his disbelief clearly written on his face. Why does he get to be S-class? Natsu shouted angrily. Erza bopped him on the head, sending him straight through the floor. Think about it, it wasn't until we told him that we were trying to see his magic that he showed it to us, she announced, causing the guild to stop and think. He was holding Gray, Juvia, Natsu, and myself off without the use of magic. This more than qualifies him as S-class. Natsu grumbled a bit but conceded that Erza had a point. Gajeel, who had remained silent for most of the discussion, snorted. Quit your whining, he had you beat and you know it, salamander. What was that? Natsu roared as he started butting heads with the Iron Dragon Slayer, who responded with an equally fiery attitude. Lucy, seeing where this was going, decided to get out and talk to Naruto to see if she could learn more about the mysterious blonde. See you later, Erza. She called out as she headed towards the door. Erza idly waved back as she watched the two slayers argue. Lucy almost immediately spotted Naruto, who was busy looking over some rental places. Hey Naruto, how's the house search going? She asked as she jogged up to him. She paused when she noted that he was squinting at the pamphlet. Naruto? Naruto glanced at her in surprise before he smiled. Hey Lucy, what's up? He asked as he set the pamphlet back in its place. I thought you'd still be in the guild. Lucy smiled. Nah. Gajeel and Natsu are getting into another argument, I'd rather not be around. She looked over the house he was looking at. "How's the house search going?" she asked again. Naruto frowned as he looked over the house again. "I can't afford any of these houses, I'm broke," he mumbled as he turned all of his visible pockets inside out, revealing nothing but pocket lint. "Besides, I left all my money at home and I can't go back until I figure out how to do so." "Huh, why can't you go back?" Lucy asked, not really understanding. "That is a story for another time," Naruto stated with a grin. "Anyways, looks like I'm crashing at the Guildhall until I can afford a place of my own." Lucy nodded her head, feeling sorry for her fellow blonde. "Hey Naruto, why do they call you God Slayer?" she asked, referring to his list of titles from earlier. Naruto thought about the question. Maybe I'll tell you, some other time," he replied, causing her to trip up and fall flat on her face. "What kind of answer is that?" she roared at him, causing him to chuckle. "An honest one," he chirped happily, causing her to sigh as she rubbed her forehead. "There are a lot of things I don't like to talk about, Lucy," he stated seriously. "That's one of them." Lucy glanced at Naruto in surprise. "You had it really rough, didn't you?" she asked rhetorically, already knowing the answer. "Yeah," he answered anyways as the two walked back towards the guild at a slow pace. "You could say that." Lucy suddenly got an idea as she turned to face him with a smile on her face. "Hey Naruto, I'm kind of an author in my spare time. You mind if I use you as a character?" Naruto stared at her in surprise before he chuckled. "Only if I get a really cool role," he stated with a laugh, causing her to laugh as well. "Deal." With that said, she shook his hand as the two walked back into the guild. "And well, how was it?" "Not much to add. If you have questions, please ask them and I'll try to answer." Brawl. Hey, I got some reviews saying that Naruto was way too open about his past in the last chapter, and well, I agreed, so I will try to address that in this chapter. Making it seem believable is hard, so bear with me. Speech. Thoughts. Techniques. Dragon, demon speech. Last time Lucy suddenly got an idea as she turned to face him with a smile on her face. "Hey Naruto, I'm kind of an author in my spare time. You mind if I use you as a character?" Naruto stared at her in surprise before he chuckled. "Only if I get a really cool role," he stated with a laugh, causing her to laugh as well. "Deal." With that said, she shook his hand as the two walked back into the guild. Brawl. Naruto was at the door when the words of the earlier fight rang in his head. "I'm an idiot," he thought glumly as he palmed his forehead as Lucy happily entered the guild. "I could have told you that." The Kyuubi spoke from his mind. "Shut up, I think I know how to get them to disbelieve everything I said," Naruto hissed inwardly as he headed straight towards the bar. Purposely swaying as if drunk. "Mirajane-san, another," he called out drunkenly. "Naruto, are you drunk?" she asked in surprise. "Lucy, did he drink outside of the guild?" she called over to the celestial spirit mage. "Naruto's really out of it," she stated worriedly as Naruto swayed a bit in his chair. "No, he didn't drink anything at all," the blonde girl stated as she made her way over to them. "He only had that one beer when he came in before the fight." Naruto saw his chance. "What do you mean I'm drunk?" he asked angrily, manipulating the blood to form a blush on his cheeks. "I'll have you know I'm completely sober." "You mean sober?" Lucy asked as Erza came over to see what was wrong. "That too," Naruto shouted as Mira warily gave him another beer. "I was supper enough to fight those 15 people earlier," he continued as he chugged down the beer, spilling some of it on purpose. Erza blinked. 15? There were only 4 of us. She paused as if thinking. "And it's sober, not supper." "That's what I said," Naruto shouted, glaring at her. "I said I beat up those 20 guys easily," he shouted drunkenly, trying to make an ass of himself so that everyone else would play his earlier fight off as dumb luck. Mirajane frowned. "I think it's time you went to bed," she stated as she started dragging Naruto towards one of the rooms for the guild members who couldn't make it home. Erza sighed as Naruto complained the entire way. "If he was drunk when we were fighting," she mused aloud as Gray and Natsu made their way over, glaring at each other the entire way. "What do you think, Gray?" Gray rubbed his head in thought. "Well, if he was drunk while fighting us, his success might have been a fluke," he admitted as Natsu fumed. "Can't believe it. He was drunk?" he raged as he pounded his fists together. "I'll beat his ass next time." Makarov stared at the door Mirajane had dragged Naruto through in thought. "Master?" Erza asked as she turned towards him. "Is something wrong?" Shaking his head, the diminutive master grinned. Nothing at all. He cheered as he downed another beer. That kid, he mused, glancing at the door again. Kana laughed as she slapped her knee. So he was drunk the entire time? She roared with laughter. No wonder he was so depressed, she shouted. Elfman folded his arms. Real men don't show their weaknesses so easily, he declared, glaring at the door. Naruto listened intently to their conversations as he allowed Mirajane to put him on the bed after she had hit the back of his head in an attempt to knock him out. She had failed, but he let her think it worked. Sounds like they bought it, he muttered to himself. I swear you are the luckiest human to ever walk the universe. The Kyuubi muttered with a mighty sigh. Naruto ignored the fox in favor of sleep. When morning came around, Naruto was awoken by a furious pounding on the door. Grumbling but remembering the act he used the day before, he let out a moan. Not so loud, he stated as he got up and walked over to the door, putting on his best hangover impression. I have a hangover, he continued as he opened the door, only to be high on the nose by a worried Mirajane. Ow, he didn't have to fake the pain. As strong as he was, a blow to the nose was always painful. Dropping to the floor, cradling his face, Naruto sent a baleful glare at Mirajane, who chuckled nervously. Naruto-san, the Miss Fairy Tale competition is about to start, she stated, catching his interest. The what? He asked, confused as he stared at her. The Miss Fairy Tale competition is where we decide who the prettiest girl in the guild is, and the winner gets 500,000 jewels. Naruto sighed. Can't stay, I need money, and I don't really like the idea of staying as a resident in the guild, he explained as he walked out of the room, still in the same clothing he had worn the day before. There are a lot of things I need, he mused aloud as he walked over to the request board. There was a sign there that read, no requests are available until after the festival, so have fun, you fairies. Naruto's eye began to twitch at a worrisome pace. Mirajane approached him cautiously. Naruto-san? She asked, reaching out to touch his arm. Are you all right? She asked, worried that he may do something rash. My life sucks, he stated as he glumly made his way over to an empty table and sat down. Just as he sat down, Erza walked in and spotted him immediately. Naruto, I need to talk with you, she shouted as she stomped over to him. Tell me honestly, how strong are you? She asked as she stood over him. Naruto paused in order to think. Not really sure, I try to avoid fights whenever possible. It was a bold-faced lie, but he kept a straight face while saying it. Erza narrowed her eyes and took a swing at him. Naruto saw it coming, but also knew she was testing him to see if he was really just lucky the day before. Don't want any secrets out, he mused as he decided to take the hit. This is going to hurt. As the fist connected, he felt himself propelled out of the seat and into the air, his body rotating like a corkscrew. Landing on the floor, Naruto took his time getting up, casting the illusion that the punch had really affected him. What was that for? He shouted in anger as he got to his feet. That really hurt, you know, he continued as he stared at Erza to see how she would react to his outburst. I guess it really was just a fluke, she stated as she turned away from him. You're not all that strong apparently, she continued as she walked towards a changing room with Lucy, who had just entered the guild hall. So cold, Naruto muttered as he dusted himself off. Can I get some water? He called out, needing something to drink. Naruto, fight me, Natsu shouted as he rushed the blonde teenager. Fists bursting into flame, Natsu threw a right hook which Naruto dodged with feigned difficulty. You really are weak, aren't you? Natsu shouted angrily as he started attacking faster and faster. Naruto inwardly sighed as he continued to run from Natsu. I could beat him asleep with my arms tied behind my back, he mused, deciding to let the pink-haired boy connect. Like Erza before him, Natsu's punch sent Naruto spiraling into the air to land in a heap on a nearby table. Ha! Naruto ain't tough, Natsu shouted as he pumped his fists into the air like he accomplished something. Naruto, feigning injury, slowly sat up and idly picked whatever was in his hair. I hope this isn't a recurring idea with you people, he stated, wiping some food off his face. I don't have any money, no place to stay, no extra clothing and no equipment. I hope you feel happy for punching me once, he stated coldly, deflating Natsu just a little. Getting up, he made his way back to where he had been sitting and sat down again. Gray looked over with narrowed eyes. There's no way he's as weak as he's acting, he declared quietly as Natsu made his way over to him. Natsu, do you really think Naruto's weak? He asked. Natsu looked over at the brooding blonde before shaking his head. Nah, he got up after that hit. What do you think, Happy? He asked the cat who was flying around his head. He's weak. The blue cat declared, raising his paw. He didn't even try to fight back. Gray shrugged. I guess. He stated as the lights dimmed down, signifying the beginning of the competition. Oh, Max is the announcer. He mused, seeing the sand user up on stage, microphone in hand. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the rather odd man announcing the contest. May I introduce our first contestant, Kana Alberona? There was a loud cheer from the crowd as Kana walked on stage holding a pose. Suddenly she extended her right arm and her cards started to fly as they covered her completely. Oh, it's ASWINSUIT. Max declared as the cards fell away, revealing Kana in a two-piece bathing suit as she smiled sultrily at the audience. She is rather pretty. Naruto admitted under his breath. I thought she'd be sagging with all the drinking she does. A card suddenly embedded itself in his forehead. Ow! He screamed as blood gushed forth from the wound. Oi, newbie, I don't think she should say those things aloud. Max called out with a grin as Kana walked away. Our second contestant, the new S-class mage Juvia. Juvia smiled as she walked forward. Suddenly there was a surging wave from Juvia's body, and when the water disappeared, she was left in a swimsuit as well. Gray-sama, are you watching? She called out as she struck a pose. Naruto couldn't help it. I guess she's wet for Gray then, he asked with a smirk. About 2 gallons worth of ice-cold water suddenly drenched him as Juvia glared at him. Do not direct such perverse jokes at Juvia, she shouted indignantly as she walked away. Newbie, what did I just say? Max asked as he scratched his head. And now here is our third contestant. Her beauty can make all the men on Earth drunk. Mirajane. There was a roar of approval from the crowd as Naruto glanced up at her in curiosity. Mirajane waved at the audience. I'm very good at using transformation magic, so I will perform face transformation Happy. She transformed her face to look like Happy, causing the entire audience to scream. Wah! T. As she continued to transform her face into Gajil's, causing said dragon slayer to pit out his drink in shock. Naruto chuckled nervously. She's kind of out there, isn't she? He asked quietly, only to be punched in the head by Elfman, who was apparently Mirajane's sibling. Ow. Max ignored what was fast becoming routine as the next contestant walked out. And here is our fourth contestant. The strongest woman in fairy tale Erza, Scarlet. Amidst the cheers of her fans, Erza smirked. I'll let you see the equip that I preserve. Her armor disappeared as her new outfit formed on her body. When everything was said and done, she was in a black skirt and a white blouse with a black ribbon in her hair. Cute, Naruto muttered softly. And totally unsuited for her personality. He added as an afterthought. He suddenly ducked as a sword embedded itself into the spot he had just been in. You really need to stop that, Max announced as he stared at Naruto, who shrugged his shoulders. Our fifth contestant, cute and knowledgeable Levi McGarden. A purple-haired girl wearing a blue hairband appeared on stage as the words snow, butterfly, metal, and flower appeared behind her, displaying the very things they stated. That's pretty cool. Naruto stated, only for the word rock to form multiple times above his head and fall, burying him underneath the rocky words. I didn't even say anything offensive, he shouted as others helped to dig him out. You were going to? Levi shouted back as she stuck her tongue out at him as she hurried backstage. No, I wasn't, Naruto mumbled irritably, noticing the huge hole his outfit now had thanks to the consistent abuse. Great, there goes my shirt until I get some money, he muttered as he stripped off the tatters that was once his shirt. I love the henge, he thought as he used it to cover up all of his scars. Sixth contestant, sexy cowgirl, Visca Mulan. A series of targets appeared around her and one with a civilian cutout, all of which were promptly shot by Visca's fast-working gunplay. Suddenly she aimed at Naruto and he dove out of the way just as a bullet hit the table he had been sitting at. I didn't even do anything, he cried out as Visca pushed her hat up with the barrel of her gun. Max just laughed it off as Visca made her way off stage. Seventh contestant, Super Rookie, give it up for. Max began as he gestured to the curtain. Lucy H. Don't say my last name, Lucy shouted as she rushed out and covered Max's mouth with her hands. Nervous about her performance, Lucy swallowed and pulled out her keys. Well, I'll dance with my stellar spirits, she stated as she got ready. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Cheerleader? He wondered aloud, causing Lucy's face to redden in embarrassment. Suddenly the crowd gasped as another woman made her way on stage. "Number 8, she stated calmly. Lucy turned towards her. "Wait, I haven't even started yet," she complained. The other ignored her as she made her way forward. "If you talk of fairies, you talk of me. If you talk of beauty, then it's me." She stepped forward more, causing Naruto to snort in dismissal. "It's all me," she declared, stepping to the front of the stage. The green-haired lady held a fan to her face and smirked arrogantly. "The champion shall be I, Evergreen," the now named Evergreen declared haughtily. "Boo! Get off the stage," Naruto shouted angrily. "Non-contestants should be kicked out," he continued, angering the green-clad female. "How dare you dismiss me so easily?" she shouted at him. "Why don't you look into my eyes and say that again?" she barked at him. "Naruto, don't look into her eyes." Gray shouted out a warning, which was promptly ignored by the blonde youth as he stared into her eyes. Naruto twitched a bit, signifying he could feel her magic affecting him. "Petrification, eh?" he asked as he felt his body fighting off the effects of the magic she had cast on him. "Too bad, fairy. Eye techniques don't work on me," he declared, glaring into her eyes, channeling a minuscule portion of Kyuubi's chakra into his eyes to trigger the transition to red-slitted irises. Startled Evergreen jumped away from him. "What are you?" she asked warily as she backed up to the curtain. Naruto laughed good-naturedly as Max and other fairy tale mages helped guide the civilians out of the guild hall. "I'm no one special," he stated as he sat down on the ground. "The question is, now what are you going to do?" he asked, smiling at her. Evergreen smirked as Sei burned the curtain. "This," she stated as the curtain burned away, revealing the other contestants had all turned to stone. "I know not why my petrifying gaze doesn't work on you, but it worked quite nicely on these girls, don't you think?" she asked snidely as Makarov and the others glared at her. "She turned those in the waiting room into stone?" Max questioned as he jumped away from her. As Makarov moved to stop her, a bolt of lightning struck center stage, forcing everyone to back away save Naruto, who narrowed his eyes. "Oi, fairy tale idiots!" the man called out as his body formed from the lightning. "This is where the real festival begins," he declared as two more men joined him on the stage. "Laxus!" Makarov gasped in surprise. "Fried and Bixlow too," Gray muttered as he narrowed his eyes, getting ready for a fight. "The Ragenshu are back." Laxus laughed loudly before turning his gaze onto Makarov. "Why don't we play a game, old geezer?" he asked rhetorically. Lucy trembled as she hid behind Naruto. "What's going on?" she asked fearfully. "Why is Laxus doing this to his own guild?" Naruto narrowed his eyes as he spoke loud enough for everyone to hear him. "It's a coup d'état," he stated, sending a wave of anger and disbelief through the gathered mages. "This guy plans to usurp the position of master from Makarov." Naruto continued as he narrowed his eyes. "I've seen those of his ilk before." Laxus laughed loudly at the statement. Well, so the newbie has a brain," he shouted in glee. "What a miraculous change for once." Gathering his lightning, he sent a bolt at Erza and only missed by a fraction of an inch. "I'll be taking these girls as hostages and I'll break them one by one if you break the rules." "Coward." The word was whispered, yet everyone heard it. Turning to the source, they found Naruto sitting on the ground, his right hand resting on his cheek. Laxus and the Ragenshu glared at him. "What was that, you punk?" Bixlow asked angrily as his dolls flew around. "You take hostages to force us to fight. Nothing but cowards who are too scared to do anything without insurance," Naruto stated. "I may not be strong like everyone else is, but I ain't a coward like you are." Laxus started to laugh again. "Big words from a weak man," he shouted. "The rules of the game are simple, the last survivor wins." Natsu couldn't help it anymore as he kicked a table high into the air. "This is great. It's way too easy to understand. I'm pumped," he roared. Naruto shook his head. "You're an idiot," he stated, pointing at Natsu. "He's threatening to kill your friends and you think it's a game?" he asked lowly. Laxus spoke before Natsu could. "Of course it's a game, and it starts now. And well, I hope everyone liked this, and I hope it was a believable way of Naruto making it seem like he is actually weaker than he really is. This is going to be hard. Naruto wants to fight, but he also wants to keep a low profile, so he has to pretend to be weak. Not sure how long I want him to keep the charade up." Anyways, there's a poll on my profile to see if readers want me to start a new story or if they want me to keep on updating my current ones. Until next time. City-wide fight. Hey guys, as expected I got mixed reviews about last chapter. Anyways, the answer to the most commonly asked question. Did the Fairy Tail Guild members actually believe Naruto when he said he was drunk during the fight? The answer is, no, not really. But they're going along with it for the most part. Speech. Thoughts. Techniques. Dragon, demon speech. Last time Natsu couldn't help it anymore as he kicked a table high into the air. This is great. It's way too easy to understand. I'm pumped, he roared. Naruto shook his head. You're an idiot, he stated, pointing at Natsu. He's threatening to kill your friends and you think it's a game? He asked lowly. Laxus spoke before Natsu could. Of course it's a game, and it starts now. City-wide fight. As soon as Laxus made his declaration, he disappeared via lightning, as did the Raijenshu. Lousy cowards. Naruto muttered under his breath as he stood up. Spinning around, he calmly walked towards the guildhall doors. Well, aren't you going to go stop them? He asked, looking over his shoulder impassively at the others. Shaken from their stupor, the other mages gave a shout of agreement as they rushed out of the guild in search of the rogue members of the guild. As Makarov made to follow, something impeded him from following them through the door. Master? Naruto wondered as he stopped and turned back to the old man. Seal? He wondered as he grasped Makarov's wrists and tried to pull him through. Makarov glanced up and widened his eyes. Runes. He whispered harshly, to think that Fried was this strong. Naruto tilted his head in confusion. Let's see, those over the age of 80 and stone statues are unable to leave. He read aloud as Gray and Natsu listened in. Damn that Laxus, he's scared of the master and made it so he can't participate. Natsu shouted in anger. Cheater. You can't be the strongest without beating the master. Natsu declared, causing the other three to palm their faces. Don't worry master, I'll beat Laxus up for you. He shouted before running forward, only to face plant right into the barrier. Natsu, you're over 80. Makarov screamed in shock. How can this be? He muttered to himself at a much lower volume. Naruto tilted his head to the side again. Natsu must have grown up in a subspace pocket with a mythical creature of sorts. He proposed his own idea. Time flows are different in pocket dimensions. I should know. I accidentally trapped myself in an alternate dimension when learning Hiraishin. Luckily I got out and only a day had passed by. He thought to himself, looking to the side. Gray shrugged his shoulders. Maybe Natsu was raised by a dragon after all, he admitted as he turned around. I'm going ahead, he called out as he started to run forward. Naruto bowed to Natsu and Makarov. Well then, master, I'm off, he declared, turning on his heel and started to walk away. Naruto. Makarov called out, catching the blonde male's attention. Don't hold back, he ordered, catching Naruto off guard before he smiled and nodded his head. Walking away, Naruto started to whistle as Makarov sank into a seated position. If it's him, we might win. Natsu glanced down at his leader. Hey master, is it okay? Sending out a weakling like him? He asked, honestly confused. He wasn't much to deal with. Makarov sighed, turning towards the rosy-haired youth. Naruto was faking weakness, he informed Natsu. I'm sure he has his reasons, but he was only pretending to be weak. Natsu gaped at the old man. What the hell? He screamed, turning back towards where Naruto disappeared to. That bastard, he let me punch him. Naruto glanced around lazily, looking for any signs of the four people who had ruined the festival mood. No one around. He muttered to himself as he placed his hands on the back of his head. He muttered, seeing the cowboy, Alzak, and the two weirdos Jet and Droy. Hey, any luck you guys? He called out, walking up to them. Suddenly purple lettering surrounded them as Alzak looked up in shock. Only the last one standing can leave, he whispered. Naruto perked his ears, having heard Alzak, who pointed one gun at Droy and the other at Jet. Sorry, but this is for Biska. He pulled the trigger. The two went down instantly, unconscious from the sneak attack. Now for Naruto. He was cut off as he fell to the ground, unconscious. Naruto made a sound of annoyance as he saw the runes die down. What a twisted game, he muttered, making friends fight friends. He glanced down at the three who had been standing near him just seconds before. Sorry, but your magic won't touch me, he whispered before he walked off. Makarov glanced up as the runes began to shift. Fairy Brawl Jet vs Droid vs Alzak vs Naruto. Winner, Naruto. Remaining participants, 46. He whispered in horror as names started appearing and the number started to dwindle. No, can't you see what they're doing? He cried out. Natsu screamed in frustration. Damn it. That looks so fun, how come I can't join? He screamed angrily. Let me out, Laxus. Naruto glanced around surprised that no one was around. What's going on? He wondered, looking around the area. Suddenly he was attacked as something struck the ground next to him. Visitor, Naruto shouted. Another rune trap. He wondered, looking around. Participants pay not leave until only one is standing. The rune read, causing Naruto to sigh in annoyance. Suddenly vanishing visitor nearly jumped in surprise only to start foaming at the mouth as Naruto reappeared behind him, hand raised in a chopping motion. Sorry. Visitor vs Naruto. Winner, Naruto. Natsu shouted in shock. He is strong. He whined as he sank to the ground. Naruto sighed as he walked around the town aimlessly. Let's see where, oh where can I find the little cowards? He wondered aloud. How dare you call us, the Raijenshu, cowards? A voice called down at him. It was Evergreen, still in her bright green fairy costume. Fairy bomb. Gremlin. She shouted as she released countless particles of dust that surrounded Naruto before exploding. Huh? All talk and no bite. Evergreen boasted as she covered her mouth and began to laugh. That stung a little. Naruto called out from within the dust, cutting her gloating short. And you ruined my clothes. He stated, dispersing the cloud of dust with a wave of his hand, revealing that his clothing was burned and torn at various places but otherwise unharmed. How did you escape? Evergreen asked in surprise, taking an instinctive step backwards. No one should be able to get out of that unharmed. Naruto cracked his neck to the side. Easy, you're weak, he declared, walking a few steps forward. Normally I'd take it easy since I don't really like the idea of being challenged to fights all the time. But for Master Makarov's sake I'm not holding back, too much. The last two words were nothing more than a whisper that Evergreen couldn't hear it. Weak? You dare call me weak? Evergreen screeched as she flew around using the wings on the back of her costume. I'll show you weak, she screamed as she spread more dust. Fairy machine gun. Leprechaun. The dust pressed together to form needles as Evergreen fired them in rapid succession at Naruto, who merely continued walking forward, ignoring the hail of needles pelting his body. Why isn't it working? Evergreen shrieked in terror as she increased the number of needles and their speed. Naruto idly noted that the needles were ripping his cloak off his body but paid it no mind. Why, you ask? He questioned as he began to walk up the side of a building in order to get closer to the airborne Evergreen. Shocked, silent Evergreen unconsciously let up on her attack. It's because a fairy can never harm a demon, he declared, now at eye level with her. By now Naruto's cloak was nothing but rags that simply fell off his body, revealing the numerous scars his body had accumulated over the course of his ninja career. Evergreen was speechless as her attack ended due to her lack of concentration. Those scars, she whispered, part in horror and part in wonderment. No normal human should be able to move with those scars, she screamed, flying away from him. Naruto grinned as he pulled out a long length of chain. I already told you, didn't I? He asked, swinging the chain around a little to build momentum. I'm a demon. He swung the chain and before Evergreen could react it had wrapped around her and brought her crashing to the ground. Jumping to the streets below, Naruto calmly walked up to Evergreen and knelt beside her. Now release the hostages, or should I find some ways to make you do what I want? Evergreen nearly screamed in terror as she quickly dispelled her petrification technique. It's done, she screamed fearfully. Naruto nodded his head in approval before knocking her out. Good girl, he muttered quietly as he continued walking around the town. Makarov snapped his head towards the sound of cracking stone with worried eyes, only to sigh in relief when the very thing he hoped for happened. Everyone, you're safe, I'm glad, he called out as the girls all looked around wondering what happened. Master? Erza questioned. What's going on? The girls all gathered around Natsu and Makarov, who quickly explained what was happening. It looks like only Naruto is left, he muttered, checking the runes. Bixlow just beat Gray, but Naruto beat Evergreen, freeing all of you. Lucy looked up at the runes with wide eyes. Naruto was that strong? She wondered out loud. Why was he pretending to be weak then? She asked, turning towards the master. Makarov shrugged his shoulders. Who knows? He replied. But either way, Levi-chan, we need you to alter the runes to let Natsu and Gajeel out of the guild. Levi nodded her head and darted away to begin investigations. Looks like the new guy has some fight in him. Laxus announced, laughing uproariously. But, he beat Evergreen, freeing my hostages, meaning I'm upping the stakes. He announced, voice cold as ice. If you don't beat me within 2 hours' time, the 200 lightning lacrima I've set up around the town will release all of their magical power at once, devastating Magnolia. Erza's eyes flared angrily as she looked up, seeing the glowing yellow orbs of lightning. Laxus, she growled. Biska quickly pulled out a rifle and took aim. We only need to destroy those lacrima, right? She asked as she fingered the trigger. Then just do it, she shouted as she pulled the trigger, sending out a condensed beam of magical energy at the lacrima, destroying it. Biska smirked before she was struck by the backlash from the lacrima she had just destroyed. Biska! The others screamed as they rushed to her aid. Damn it, they have auto-counters on those things. Kana muttered angrily. Mirajane closed her eyes as she quickly turned around and left. Mirajane! Erza called out as she followed her out of the guild hall. Makarov glared up at the orbs surrounding the town. Laxus, you've gone too far, he whispered harshly. Naruto stood on a rooftop looking up at the orbs in interest. A way to store various types of magic. I wonder if it'd work with chakra. He mused to himself as he took a deep breath. How many are still up and able to fight, I wonder? He asked no one in particular. No one is coming to me. I wonder, can I use Sage Mode here? Seeing no harm in trying, Naruto sat down and took a meditative pose. All across the town of Magnolia, the conscious mages all turned their gazes towards the source of the strange aura of serenity that permeated the air. Whose magic is this? Erza questioned, trying to find Mirajane, who had disappeared when Erza lost sight of her. Such a presence, she whispered softly. Makarov turned his attention to the source of the energy that brought a sense of calmness into his body. This magic, he whispered loud enough for the others around him to hear it. Master? Natsu asked, feeling an odd sense of calm. What's going on? Unbelievable. Someone is harnessing the magic of the earth itself, Makarov explained, odd beyond all belief. Levi looked up from her work as Gajeel woke up from his nap. Who is it? She questioned, looking at her master. Master? Makarov glanced at her. I think I know, but I need to make sure before I say. He evaded the question easily enough as Levi went back to work. Gajeel grouchily made his way over to Makarov and Natsu. It's him, isn't it? He asked, cracking his neck. That sneaky whiskered punk, he muttered, grinning like a madman. Natsu pumped his fists into the air. Now I really want to fight him. He shouted, looking thrilled. It's so cool, he's so strong. Natsu cheered as Happy flew around. He added in. Mirajane, in the middle of handing Fried a beat-down, glanced at the source as the soul of the demon she took over shivered within the confines of her consciousness. Beware the source, the demon advised solemnly, for none can withstand its wrath. With these words the demon's consciousness faded as Mirajane turned towards Fried, who was shivering. It's stupid, you know, this fight, she began, catching his attention. Naruto breathed deeply as he searched for the energy that most resembled the instability of lightning. There is a lot more nature energy here than back home. He mused aloud. It feels wonderful to meditate here. He frowned internally. Those lacrima things are blocking my sensing ability. He muttered just as Erza hopped onto the roof by him. Erza, he muttered in greeting. So it was you, Naruto. She muttered, walking over to him. I thought you said you were weak, she stated as she looked around. A lie, obviously. Naruto admitted as he continued to meditate. Master saw through me and told me not to hold back for the occasion. He explained before Erza could ask. Sighing, he cut off the gathering process and stood up, the orange pigments around his eyes catching Erza's attention. Naruto, your eyes. She gasped, causing Naruto to open his eyes to look at her. Erza almost stepped back in shock. Your eyes are yellow with a rectangular pupil. She questioned, confused about the turn of events leading to the situation. It's complicated. Naruto stated, uncaring. What I was doing allows me to sense others, but these stupid lacrima are blocking me from finding Laxus. Erza nodded as she shifted armors. Right now Natsu and Gajeel are fighting Laxus at the chapel. She informed Naruto, who nodded in acceptance. It's our job to destroy these and protect the town, but they shock anyone who destroys them. Naruto sighed. No problem, leave it to me, he ordered, shaking his arms out. I'll need you to carry me back to the guild afterwards though, cause I'll be out like a light. Erza of course was against the idea. Don't be foolish, one of those things have enough to knock out a person on their own, you're talking about destroying 198 of them. Naruto nodded his head. I know, but we'll need you to fight just in case those two need help. He countered. I'd rather not deal with a lightning user, since I might go too far. He explained, having bad memories with lightning. That said, he began to gather the nature chakra within him as he began forming signs with his hands. Erza was shocked as she watched the speed with which his hands formed symbols, whose meanings eluded her. Aim. Naruto whispered quietly as he held the Tori sign. Suddenly a beam of light flew from Naruto's body into the air before separating into 198 smaller beams that struck each of the lacrima. Erza watched as all of the lacrima shattered with wide eyes. No way. She muttered, unable to believe what she had just seen. Gyaa. Snapping her head to the source, she had just enough time to cover her eyes as Naruto was struck with the equivalence of 198 counter-attacks. Naruto! Erza called out as she rushed to his side before he could fall. Hang in there, Naruto, come on. It was no use as Naruto had already lost consciousness. Slinging his body over her shoulder, Erza quickly carried him towards the guild. Master! She cried out, looking desperate. We need medical aid now, she cried, catching the aged man's attention. Eyes widening in horror, Makarov quickly ordered the other girls still in the guild hall to set up a medical aid station as he lifted Naruto off of her shoulders and set him down on a bed using his giant magic. Erza, what happened? He asked as they quickly went about treating the burns covering Naruto's body. He destroyed all of the lacrima surrounding the town, Erza explained before gasping in surprise. What the? She began as Makarov turned towards the unconscious blonde. His wounds, they're healing. He shouted, astonished. What is this? He whispered, mind racing as he tried to figure out how this was happening. Anyways, for now just let him rest, Makarov ordered as he ushered Erza out of the room as he closed the door behind them. We'll need to talk to him about that later, Makarov decided as Erza nodded her head. How is he? Biska asked, a few bandages around her own body from attacking the lacrima. He should be fine, Makarov stated, calming Biska and Levi down, both of whom had been worried when they saw Naruto come in. Any news on the fight? I lost is what happened. Everyone turned around and saw Laxus looking worse for wear as he crossed his arms and looked away from everybody else. Natsu and that Gajeel guy beat me while working together, he explained before bowing his head. I'm sorry, Gigi. He apologized sincerely as Makarov smiled. Makarov, tears of joy in his eyes, hugged his formerly estranged grandson. Laxus, he cried, causing Laxus to stiffen up in surprise. I'm so glad you didn't fall too far, the old man whispered into his grandson's ear. Eyes widening as tears threatened to fall, Laxus shakily asked. You mean I won't be expelled? He asked. Even though I did all that stuff? His voice was cracking by now, and the girls thought it'd be best to leave the two alone as they left in order to aid all of the injured. On the night of the parade, Naruto stood next to Makarov as the members of Fairy Tail prepared all of their routines. Seems fun, Naruto mused, seeing Laxus working with the Raijenshu in order to build their own float. Why don't you two join them? Makarov suggested, seeing Gajeel, all bandaged up from the fight, sitting nearby. Naruto calmly denied. My abilities aren't good for showing off like that, he admitted. I'm only good for taking people down. Gajeel shook his head as well. Nah, that's not me, he muttered as he stood and walked over. Here, he stated, handing a piece of paper to Makarov. Thank you, Makarov muttered, pocketing the paper. You sure you two don't want to join? He asked again. Yeah, Naruto muttered before walking away. I need to find a job or something, I'm flat broke right now. Naruto sighed as he sat down on the roof of a building overlooking the parade route. I wonder what Every will do, he muttered to himself as he rubbed his stomach. I haven't eaten anything since I came here, he whispered sadly. Here, someone called out from behind him. Looking over his shoulder, he was slightly surprised to see Erza holding what looked like a lunchbox. A thank you for what you did for the town, she explained, seeing his puzzled face. Naruto's eyes lit up as he happily accepted the offered food and began to eat it. It's good, he cheered as he continued eating. Thanks, Erza, I haven't eaten in a while. Erza smiled though her face was slightly pink. I'm glad, she mumbled before taking a seat next to him. Shouldn't you be getting ready? Naruto asked, wondering why she was sitting next to him. I've already prepared for the night, Erza stated, looking up at the purplish sky now that the sun was setting. I wanted to talk to you about the scars and your past. Naruto sighed as he looked away. You saw them then? He asked quietly, his hair shadowing his face. My scars. Erza nodded her head. I'd rather not talk about it, he continued. A lot of bad memories come with these scars. Flashes of his childhood and Sasuke flashed to the forefront of his mind. Clenching his eyes shut, Naruto struggled to maintain a calm front lest he worry Erza, who was looking at him. All right, I won't press you, she replied, looking away from him. I too have a past I'd rather not remember, she admitted. The two fell into a comfortable silence as they watched as evening turned into night. You should get going, Naruto informed Erza, who nodded her head and made her way back to the guild. A dark past, huh? He muttered under his breath as the parade began. Shaking such dark thoughts away, Naruto thoroughly enjoyed watching as the entire guild had fun putting on a show for their fellow townsmen. I guess now is a good time to check in with Gamakichi, Naruto muttered under his breath as he stood up, and with one last look at the parade, vanished. Naruto looked around before biting his thumb, drawing blood. Kachiyose no jutsu. When the smoke cleared, Gamakichi waved his webbed hand. Yo Naruto, what's up? He asked with a smile. Naruto smiled as well. Hey, how is everyone holding up? He asked, hoping Hinata was doing okay. Is Hinata well? Gamakichi nodded his head. Yeah, everyone was glad to hear that you were still alive. He pulled out a package from within his jacket pocket. Here, they wanted you to have this. Handing the package to Naruto, Gamakichi looked around. There a festival or something going on? Naruto accepted the package with a grateful nod. Yeah, a parade featuring the local guild. He explained. Anyways, tell Hinata I love her. The authorities here don't seem to understand cross-dimension travel, and I don't either. Gamakichi nodded his head sadly. The toads don't either, Naruto, I'm sorry. Naruto simply shook his head. Don't worry about it, Kichi. I just wish at the least that Hinata could be with me. Gamakichi nodded his head again. I should get going, see you around, Naruto. His piece said. Gamakichi disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Naruto stared at the spot his friend occupied. Yeah, see you around, Kichi. He mumbled before looking back towards the town of Magnolia, and then down to the package in his hands. Slowly he opened it and smiled. Guys, he whispered, tears at his eyes. Inside were various accessories from each of his friends so that he could always remember them. A wolf-themed necklace from Kiba's family, a rose earring from Ino and hers, cherry blossom petal bandana from Sakura's parents, loose-fitting martial arts pants from Tenten, matching shirt from Lee and Neji, wristbands with Namikaze written on them from the Konohamaru Corps. Chain-mail undershirt from Anko and Kurenai-sensei, lion-patterned cloth for my headband from Sai. Teardrop earring from Shikamaru and Shino. Those guys must have split the cost. Leaf-themed belt from Choji's family. Fingerless gloves with wind patterns from Kakashi-sensei and Yamato Taiko. Combat boots from Bachan. And fox-patterned leg warmers from Gai-sensei. Those guys, Naruto trailed off as he donned each of the gifts. Looking into the box for the last one, he smiled as he pulled out Hinata's gift to him. Hinata, he whispered, inspecting the vest she made for him. It was orange, and had the same furred material Hinata's jacket from their time as Genin at the neck. It had 4 pockets on the front and 2 on the side. On the back was a message. Hinata no Yusha. Naruto read aloud. Donning the vest opened, and over the shirt Lee and Neji had given him, Naruto created a mirror and looked himself over. Not bad if I do say so myself, he muttered. Slowly Naruto made his way back to the guild hall where he would be staying a few more nights. The lights are on, he noted as he pushed the doors open. You guys, haven't gone home yet? He asked, seeing everyone laughing and drinking to their heart's content. Everyone paused as they saw Naruto's new wardrobe. Naruto, where did you get all that new stuff? Gray asked, raising an eyebrow. I thought you were broke. Naruto smiled as he walked forward and sat at a table. A messenger from my home managed to find me and delivered a package from all of my friends back home. He explained as he smiled and ordered a drink. Hinata no Yusha. Lucy read off his back. Who made that for you? She asked, eyes sparkling, seeing a major topic for her book. A very dear to my heart friend. Naruto answered her, taking a sip from his beer. Very dear to me, he whispered. And alright, I'm done. I know this wasn't all that good in terms of fighting, but I didn't really want to go into each of the matchups other than Naruto's. Now as to Naruto being too strong. Nah, if you think about it, there are some members of the guild that are really strong like Natsu, Erza, Gray, Mirajane and the like. The others are too, but not to a great extent. Now Naruto just beat Madara, who makes almost anyone look weak in comparison, so really do you think the members who aren't depicted as really strong would stand a chance against him? Now since I described Naruto's new outfit, I would really like to see some artists make a picture of Naruto with all of the clothing and accessories I just put in. If I did not mention color, then you are free to choose your own. I will post my favorite onto my profile, and if a new one comes in that I like more, I will replace the old link on my profile with the new one. Hinata no Yusha. Literally. A shining place's hero. In context, Hinata's hero, where Hinata was writing in the third person, can also be seen in context as hero in the sun. Any questions? Feel free to ask, reporters and Destiny. Hey guys, another chapter of Not From Around Here, for you. I hope you like it. Speech. Thoughts, techniques, dragon, demon speech. Last time Naruto smiled as he walked forward and sat at a table. A messenger from my home managed to find me and delivered a package from all of my friends back home. He explained as he smiled and ordered a drink. Hinata no Yusha. Lucy read off his back. Who made that for you? She asked, eyes sparkling, seeing a major topic for her book. A very dear to my heart friend. Naruto answered her, taking a sip from his beer. Very dear to me, he whispered. Reporters and Destiny. Naruto sighed as he gazed into his empty wallet, its former contents all but useless in Earthland. What am I going to do for money? He wondered as the job board hadn't been updated yet. Naruto, fight me. Natsu screamed as he charged towards the distracted blonde, his fists already inflamed. Naruto simply snapped outward with his fist and knocked Natsu away. The others in the guild blinked in surprise. I still can't get used to that, Gray muttered, watching as Natsu sprang to his feet before charging towards Naruto again. How did he get this strong? Erza quietly watched as Natsu was swatted away as Naruto started pacing. I'm not sure, she stated honestly, but maybe we should ask Master to give Naruto a job, since he has no money. Lucy walked up to Naruto and patted him on the shoulder. I know how you feel, she stated as tears fell down her face. Every month I worry about making rent. Naruto nodded his head as both blondes sighed in depression. If only there was a job we could do, they muttered sadly as they looked hopefully at the board. Jobs are currently being scanned through and will appear at the end of the day, the notice on the board stated, causing them both to sigh loudly. Fight me! Natsu screamed, jumping forward. Naruto calmly grabbed Natsu's vest and tossed him at the bar, sending the pink-haired boy crashing into the shelves, toppling them over, breaking the cups and bottles stored there. Naruto, you're paying for that, Makarov stated, looking up from his newspaper. I don't have any money, Naruto screamed angrily. The damn board is broken. Many of the older members laughed at the blonde's misfortune as the younger ones sighed tiredly. Maybe I should go bounty hunting, Naruto muttered seriously. I think there was a bounty board at the town hall, he wondered, starting to like the idea. I could go out and take down some bad guys and reap the rewards. Mages aren't allowed to do jobs outside of what is on the request boards, Mirajane stated seriously, causing Naruto to face Vault. Sorry, council rules. What the hell? He wondered tiredly. What happens if you manage to catch a bounty while on a job? You get the bounty, Mirajane answered happily. Then why can't we go bounty hunting? Naruto asked curiously. That's what mercenaries do, she answered happily, causing Naruto to cry. I should have become a merc, he moaned pitifully. I'd be rolling in money. Oi, old man, when can I go on a job? He shouted, turning towards the master of the guild. When there's one on the board, Makarov answered unsympathetically as he downed a mug of beer. It should be up tomorrow since I'm heading out to the regular meeting, he stated idly, causing Naruto to sink to the floor. No way, Naruto whispered as Lucy patted him on the shoulder. Kana smiled softly, seeing the two. Cute, she stated out loud, doing some fortune-telling for fun. Huh? She murmured, seeing her results for Lucy. Hey Lucy, come here, she called out. It looks like you'll be having a destined meeting today. She grinned like a fox hugging Lucy, who was suddenly red in the face and a stuttering mess. Kana. What the hell are you talking about? She screamed, looking around to see if anyone had noticed. Naruto smiled. Destined meeting, huh? He wondered aloud, holding a hand on his chin. Maybe you're meeting your future husband. He stated aloud, causing Lucy to blush as many of the older members began laughing. That's not funny. Lucy whined as she stamped her feet. Kana, do Naruto's fortune, she shouted, turning on the alcoholic brunette. Kana asked, suddenly put on the spot. Right now? She asked, looking around as everyone seemed suddenly interested. Okay, she muttered unsurely. Kana quietly began her reading as Naruto walked over quickly, followed by Natsu, Gray, Happy and Erza. Alright, here we go, Kana whispered as she flipped the necessary cards over. This is, she whispered in shock. The friends, the lovers, the child. She whispered, covering her mouth. According to this, a close friend will become your lover and bear your child. Naruto blinked and instantly thought of Hinata. I see. He expertly kept any trace of his thoughts off of his face as he rubbed his chin in thought. That is rather interesting, he stated before shrugging it off. Well, whatever, he stated, walking away and towards the door. I'm going for a walk, he called out as the others shared a glance. Naruto sighed as he scratched his head. Seriously, what am I going to do for money? He asked no one as he walked along the water's edge. Be careful, Blondie, a couple of men on a boat called out in concern. Naruto waved at them and continued to walk. Maybe I should lighten some pockets, he mused silently as he turned a corner, reaching a bridge. The sounds of bodies crashing into each other could be heard. Era, you okay? He asked, seeing a small girl, wearing a yellow and blue striped summer dress, feather-like ankle ornaments and blue shoes, rubbing her backside as her cat ran up to them. Wendy, are you all right? The cat screamed in a panic. You there? The cat screeched, turning on him. How dare you knock her over? To be fair, she crashed into me. Naruto answered simply. Rather, are talking cats normal in this area? He asked curiously. Cause there's a guy in our guild who has a talking cat as well. The girl, Wendy, blinked in surprise. Another cat like Charles? She asked. Oh, I apologize, my name is Wendy Marvell, sorry for bumping into you. Wendy, you don't need to apologize to a ruffian like him, Charles advised, offering Naruto a warning glare. They aren't worth the effort. Naruto scowled. Stupid cats, he muttered under his breath, looking away from them. Plastering on a grin, he turned back as if Charles hadn't affected him at all. I'm Namikaze Naruto, a pleasure to meet you, he greeted, bowing, a little surprising the two with the formality. Ah, a pleasure, they greeted back, not wanting to be rude. So were you two touring around for the festival that just ended? Naruto asked as he gestured at the townsfolk cleaning up after the week-long festivities. I'll admit that was the most fun I've had for a while. Wendy nodded happily. Yeah. The mages at Fairy Tail really know how to make a parade fun to watch, she stated excitedly, causing a small smile to appear on Charlie's face. They do, don't they? Naruto asked, having seen a part of the parade before going off to summon Gamakichi. Do you want to join Fairy Tail? He asked curiously, seeing that the girl was so excited as she talked about the parade. Oh no. Wendy denied with a light shake of the head. I'm already part of Cage Shelter, she stated, showing him her guild mark. I see, well that's fine, Naruto stated with a smile. Naruto. Lucy called out, running up to him. Catching up, she paused to catch her breath. There's a weekly sorcerer reporter at the guild, she shouted enthusiastically. Come on, someone mentioned you and he wants to meet you. Naruto blinked in surprise. He muttered as he was dragged off. Sorry, I have to go, Wendy, he called back while waving at the girl who waved back. He was a fairy tale mage, Wendy muttered, covering her chest with her hands. He was a nice person, don't you think so, Charles? She asked, turning towards the cat, who scowled. He was nothing but a brute of a man who probably only thinks with a part of the lower anatomy, she stated dismissively as Wendy blushed. Charles, she admonished as the cat led her away. Naruto chuckled as he re-entered the guild hall. All right, what's the ruckus? He asked lightly, looking around. Whoa. It's the new guy, so cool, a blonde-haired man with a camera around his neck screamed, appearing right in front of Naruto. Is he? Naruto asked, glancing at the others, pointing a finger at the overexcited man. The others nodded their heads in unison. The weekly sorcerer reporter, they stated with deadpan expressions. Right, Naruto muttered, turning back to him. What's your name? The man asked, holding up a notepad and pen, getting into Naruto's face. Naruto. What's your birthday? October 10th. Where are you from? That way. Naruto pointed in a random direction. Magic? The man's eyes were sparkling as Naruto became more and more of a mystery to him. I can do a few things. Naruto replied softly, holding up a ball of pure energy that seemed to be rotating in multiple directions at once at a high velocity. So cool. The man shouted, grinning insanely. Relationships? None. Naruto answered softly, closing his eyes so that none could see the lie he just told. All right. Picture time. The man shouted once he finished writing down his notes. Naruto sighed as he decided to just walk away and headed towards the bar and ordered a drink. Nice shot. The man screamed, taking a picture of Naruto with his hand up when he had ordered the drink. When is he leaving? Naruto asked through gritted teeth as Mirajane giggled. Sighing, he accepted the drink and stared into it for a while before taking a deep gulp, grunting in annoyance when the sound of a camera clicking was heard. I'm going to hurt him, Naruto muttered, seriously staring at Mirajane. I wouldn't do that if I were you, she stated, pouring him another mug. Our reputation is bad enough. One more injury wouldn't hurt, would it? He asked, leaning forward. It might. Mirajane countered, leaning forward as well in order to continue the whispered conversation. Mirajane, the demon and the new guy are getting lovey-dovey. The reporter screamed in shock, quickly taking a picture in which the two were fairly close together. No, you idiot, that's not it, Naruto screamed as the reporter started leaving. Wait till everyone sees this, the man continued, heedless as Naruto gave chase. Wait, I said. That's not what's going on, Naruto shouted desperately as the man just disappeared into the crowd. How the hell? Naruto muttered, looking around. Shit, he swore, kicking a stone aside. Mirajane laughed nervously as Naruto slumped back down at the counter. I take it you weren't able to stop him? She asked, already knowing the answer. No, Naruto muttered tiredly, sorry to get you involved in this, Mira-chan. Oh, don't worry, I'm Fairy Tail's cover girl anyways, she stated in a matter-of-fact voice. Another story about me won't bother me at all. The next day, Mirajane held a copy of the Weekly Sorcerer with a white-knuckled grip. She began, her face betraying nothing of her own thoughts. What scandalous things they say this time, she stated as an aura of death began to surround her. Maybe I should hurt them? She questioned as the guild slowly backed away from her. Natsu glanced at Lucy, who had brought in the copies. What did it say anyways? He asked softly, scared of Mirajane's wrath. Lucy shivered. Something about Mirajane possibly eloping with Naruto, I think, she muttered back, just as fearful as Natsu. I haven't seen Mirajane this pissed in, ever, Gray muttered as they all backed themselves into a corner. What does that thing say? Anyways. Naruto, the center of it all, merely clutched his copy tightly. Really now, he muttered, surprisingly calm. Who should I beat down first? He asked lightly, causing the entire guild to fall to the ground. He isn't calm at all, they screamed as their eyes popped out and their teeth turned jagged. Kana slowly lifted a copy. New member, Namikaze Naruto, the secret father of Mirajane's unborn child. She read the heading. E.H. The guild screamed as they all grabbed a copy and read the article. Juvia wonders how reporter gets stories so wrong, Juvia muttered, staring at the paper. Erza clutched the magazine with shaking hands as she slowly turned her attention onto Mirajane. Mira, I didn't know, she muttered, shocked. When is it due? Naruto palmed his face. Erza, he muttered tiredly. It's all a lie, he stated, waving it off as Erza turned sharply on him with a pointed stare. Even if we did do something, it takes about a week before any signs of pregnancy show up. I've been here less than that if I recall, he pointed out. Well, it has been a week, Mikao pointed out, seeing as the Harvest Festival, a week-long event, was over. It's possible. Are you trying to make me seem like a bad person? Naruto asked seriously, staring at the older man with a blank expression. Mirajane slowly held up a hand which took on a more demonic form. Mikao-san, she asked darkly as energy began to build up in her palm. I meant nothing of the sort, the purple-haired fire mage shouted desperately, waving his arms in front of himself in defense. I swear it. I'm going to kill him, Naruto stated, simply throwing the copy into a trash bin. No one will have to know, he simply had a fatal accident, he muttered, walking towards the door. Gray grabbed a hold of Naruto and held him back with the help of Elfman. Naruto, get a hold of yourself, he shouted as they struggled to restrain Naruto, who was subconsciously using chakra to enhance his own body. As a man, I can't let you do this, Elfman shouted, using his takeover magic to transform his arms into that of the Black Bull as he tried to restrain Naruto. Maybe I should help Naruto, Mirajane muttered, beginning to walk towards the guild entrance. Oi, Mira, Erza scolded as she grabbed a hold of Mirajane's wrist. As a legal guild we can't do that, she stated forcefully. Mira pouted as she reluctantly allowed Erza to guide her back behind the bar counter. Fine, she whined, still upset by the article. That reporter is definitely going to suffer though, she stated darkly. Saying I'm pregnant, the nerve. Naruto eventually managed to calm down as he took a seat and scowled. Is that magazine always this inaccurate? He asked, holding the magazine up as if it were something disgusting. Not really, Lucy muttered dejectedly, since it was her favorite magazine. They're usually really accurate. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Right, like I'll believe that after seeing this. He muttered more to himself than anyone else as he tossed the magazine into the trash. And alright, originally I was going to go straight into the Oración Cis arc, but then I remembered that there were a few points of comedic relief between the festival and the Oración Cis arc. To answer a few questions that will most likely be asked. Lucy did go out and bumped into that glasses guy, but unlike the canon storyline where she starts stressing over it, she never goes out with him since she suddenly heard that there was a reporter and rushed back. The destined meeting did happen, since if you recall it was when they passed Wendy on the train to their next job. In this one she passes Wendy while Naruto was talking to her. Next chapter will begin the Oración Cis arc, Naruto's first job. Hey guys, another chapter of Not From Around Here for you. I hope you like it. Alright, before we begin I'd like to announce that Naruto won't be part of Team Light. Initially Makarov still doesn't have a true grasp of Naruto's abilities and as such feels uncomfortable sending him into such a dangerous job. Sorry for those who wanted to see Naruto dealing with Nirvana. Speech. Thoughts. Techniques. Dragon, demon speech. Last time Naruto eventually managed to calm down as he took a seat and scowled. Is that magazine always this inaccurate? He asked, holding the magazine up as if it were something disgusting. Not really, Lucy muttered dejectedly, since it was her favorite magazine. They're usually really accurate. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Right, like I'll believe that after seeing this. He muttered more to himself than anyone else as he tossed the magazine into the trash. Naruto's first job. Naruto was ecstatic, and for good reason. Finally I can do a job, he shouted, pumping his fists into the air as he stared at the job board, which had been updated when everyone had gone off to bed. Let's see. Extermination, capture, protect, he mumbled softly as he browsed, seeing that there were plenty of jobs for everyone. This one sounds good and the pay is nice, he muttered, grabbing one and walking over to the bar where Mirajane was waiting for those who wanted a job. Isn't that a kind of dangerous one for a newbie? Mikao asked, looking over Naruto's shoulder. I mean, they want you to deal with a band of bandits near a volcano, he pointed out. So? Naruto asked, looking confused. I need the money, screw safety, Naruto muttered, handing the form to Mirajane, who smiled at him. Bandits, huh? She asked, writing it down so that the job would disappear from other guild halls. Good luck, Naruto. I think Master has a special job for Natsu and his team. Really, they're that good? Naruto asked, looking over at the rosy-haired youth in some shock. Huh. Learn something new every day. Mira covered her mouth to stop herself from laughing as she handed the mission request back to Naruto. Good luck out there, she waved as Naruto nodded his head and headed out the guild hall. Naruto smiled as he looked at his paper. Okay, just need to go to the city of Diamond Town. Where is that? He wondered, turning around and walking back into the guild. Hey Mira, which way to Diamond Town? He asked, looking sheepish as he stayed near the door. There was a general round of laughter at Naruto's expense, eliciting a blush from his face. It's about 100 kilometers south of here, Mirajane replied once she had her laughter under control. Just follow the train tracks south and you'll get there eventually. Alright, thanks, Naruto shouted, heading out once more. Okay, so south, better find the station first, he muttered, walking off in where he assumed the train station was. Okay, here we are. Excuse me. Naruto called out, catching an employee's attention. South is that way, right? He asked, pointing to his right. Ah, yes, it is. The man answered with a smile as Naruto nodded in thanks and walked off in the direction indicated. Wait, wouldn't you like to take the train instead? The man called out, seeing Naruto walking away. No money. Naruto replied back with a shrug of his shoulders. Naruto whistled a happy tune as he made his way south. Got a job, got a job, got a job. He sang softly to himself, completely ignoring the odd looks he was receiving from others as he passed them by. Gotta get some money. Naruto was so happy, in fact, that he didn't notice the person in front of him before he walked right into them. Oh, sorry, he mumbled, rubbing his nose. Watch where you're going, you fucking bastard. My god, I think you broke my arm. The man screamed, clutching his arm over dramatically. How are you going to pay me back for this injury, huh? The man screamed as two other men joined him. I could kill you so you don't have to worry about it. Naruto offered pleasantly, already annoyed by the man's blathering. Besides, I don't have any money, so extorting from me isn't really useful, is it? He questioned as the three men gulped nervously. Then you gotta pay us back some other way, punk. One of the other men shouted, trying to act tough. Cause Aniki might be crippled cause of you. Naruto grinned as he cracked his knuckles. Oh, whatever do you mean? He asked, stepping closer, causing the trio to step backwards. I haven't crippled anyone, but that can be remedied, should I? It worked like a charm as the three men turned tail and ran. Ah geez, even here they have mafia. Naruto muttered, continuing on his way. Wait, am I out of Magnolia yet? Naruto asked, looking around since he hadn't been paying attention. He muttered, looking around. Excuse me, he called out, seeing someone. Where am I? He asked, seeing them turn to face him. Oh, this is Copper Town. The woman responded happily as she stopped what she was doing to speak with Naruto. Where you headed, stranger? Diamond Town, miss. Naruto replied with a smile on his face. Am I going in the right direction? The woman smiled and pointed further down the road. Just follow this road, dear, it'll lead you right to it. She pointed out. But be careful though, there has been an increase in bandit activity in the woods and around the volcano in the area. As far as I know, they're different groups. Thanks, miss, I'll keep that in mind. Naruto bowed in thanks and walked off in the direction he was pointed in. As Naruto entered the forest, the sudden sense of being watched started to nag at him. Alright, come out and play, little man. Naruto muttered, looking around as he stopped in the middle of the road. Look what we got, boys, new meat. The apparent leader called out, walking into the open. We gonna fuck you up. The man was rather large, wearing nothing but skins from animals long since dead and skinned. What, no threats of, give me your money? Geez, not very good bandits are you? Naruto asked jokingly as he looked around, noticing a good 12 men surrounding him. Only 12 of you? He asked, sounding disappointed. How insulting. That's it, fucking kill the bitch. The leader shouted angrily as the men started rushing Naruto, screaming their lungs off as they brandished their rusty swords and flimsy spears. Naruto sighed and simply vanished from their view. How about you all go to sleep? He asked before all of the bandits fell to the floor, unconscious. Too easy, he muttered, tying the group up and hefting them onto his shoulder. Let's hope the mountain ones prove a better challenge. He mumbled softly to himself as he continued along the path to Diamond Town. This must be it, Naruto muttered, seeing a large sign made out of diamonds. Hey guard, where do I put these bandits? He called out, seeing an armed guard at the gate. The guard raised an eyebrow before gesturing to a jailhouse. Right there, mage. He stated before looking forward again. The warden will give you the reward money for them. Naruto nodded his head in thanks and dragged them towards the mentioned jailhouse. Walking into the rather small jail, Naruto looked around in interest. Hello? He asked, looking around for someone to hand off the bandits to. The sounds of someone walking in alerted him to another presence as he turned to face the newcomer. Are you the warden? I am, the man said gruffly, sizing Naruto up. You got something for me? He finally asked, seeing the bandits tied up behind the blonde youth. Yeah, the bandits that were pestering the travelers around the woods. Naruto nodded and handed them off to the warden. I'm here to deal with the ones in the mountain though. Naruto stated, looking around. I need to meet with the mayor first though, can you point me in the right direction? The warden casually pointed to a large mansion near the center of town. That there is the mayor's house if you're looking for him," he stated, shoving Naruto out the door. "Now get lost, I have to deal with these hooligans." Naruto patted himself down with a grumble. "Grouchy old man," he muttered, walking towards the mansion at an easy pace. "Alright then, let's get this mission started," Naruto muttered, hitting a buzzer on the gate alerting the mansion to his arrival. "Who is it?" an irate-sounding voice shouted over the intercom. "I'm busy. I'm here about the bandit sweeping job," Naruto responded, kindly ignoring the irritating voice with ease. "I'm from Fairy Tail," he added in as an afterthought. "Well, why didn't you say so? I would have opened up earlier," the man shouted as the giant gates swung open, allowing Naruto entrance. Come in, come in." Naruto nodded his head and walked into the grounds, quickly noticing quite a few armed guards around. "Those aren't city guards," Naruto mused, seeing much better weapons on the guards around the house than on the guard at the gate. "Wonder if this guy is even legit." Naruto silently slipped a blade between his fingers out of sight from the guards. "This must be the place," Naruto muttered, seeing a large door in front of him. Taking a breath, he knocked. Instantly the door opened up, revealing a portly man with two beautiful women on either side of him. "You must be the Airy Tail mage," the man happily assumed as Naruto nodded in acknowledgement. "Great, I see they finally took my mission." "What is my mission exactly?" Naruto asked, cutting the man off. "All it said was bandit sweeping. I would like details if you can provide them." Naruto calmly took a seat and declined any form of drink from the two women. "Yes, the attack started about 2 weeks ago. At first it was just simple things like food, but it soon escalated to jewels to money. I'm worried that it might escalate even further to kidnappings," the mayor explained as Naruto nodded his head. "There are about 25 in each attack, so we decided to hire a guild to deal with it." "Why not just have your personal guards deal with it? You have plenty of them and they're well armed," Naruto stated, having counted well over 25 in his time within the grounds. "I can't do that. Who would protect me while they were gone?" the mayor asked selfishly. "I can't take the risk of sending out my guards," he stated firmly as Naruto narrowed his eyes. "Why would you need so many guards in the first place?" he asked slowly, giving no hint of his suspicions. "This house also acts as the storage facility of the diamonds we're so famous for," the mayor explained as he set his cup down. "Now I think you should get to your job. The bandits can be found in a cave network in the volcano." Naruto nodded his head and left the room and then the building. "Once he's dealt with them, kill him," the mayor ordered uncaringly as he resumed his meal, much to the two women's disgust. Naruto sighed as he headed towards the large volcano easily within sight of the town. Why would you build a town near an active volcano? He wondered aloud as he walked. "It's kind of stupid if you think about it," he muttered as he exited the town gate without any bother. "Oh well, whatever makes it easier for me. So about 25 thugs. Sounds easy enough. Got to be careful though, it is an active volcano after all." Seeing a cave, Naruto decided to see if it was an entrance and walked up to it. Only for a giant spear made of rock to crash down where he once stood. Golems, Naruto wondered, seeing the earthen constructs rising from the ground. "Tch, that damn mayor lied. There are mages in this gang." Sighing, Naruto slammed his palms together, and when he separated them, "Let's dance." He was holding a solid steel bow staff. Twirling it around expertly, Naruto launched into action as the golems tried to hit him again. "Too slow," he roared, striking them hard enough to turn them to dust. The golems were slow and couldn't move very well, so Naruto had it easy as he casually destroyed each one with one swing from his staff. "Well, that was easy," Naruto muttered, walking into the cave. "Alright, I know someone's in here," he called out, holding the staff in his hands. "Come on out, bandits, make it easy for yourselves and surrender." The sound of moving rocks sounded above him as Naruto glanced up. "You think we're stupid, mage?" a voice asked from the shadows. "We know why you're here. That traitor of a mayor hired you to clear us out." "So he was in cahoots with you guys?" Naruto mused, sensing the presence nodding its head. "I'll deal with him after I get my money. Now come down here and face me like a man." "Nah, I rather stay out of sight," the man replied as the walls started closing in on Naruto. "After all, wouldn't want to get caught in my own trap, you know." Naruto calmly looked around. "That would make sense," he conceded, "but I'm not going to be caught after all." he muttered, jumping up into the shadows, forcing the trap layer to scuttle away. "I'll find you eventually, trap layer," Naruto called out after him, following the sounds of moving rocks until he found an opening to drop down into a wider area. "Another trap in here probably," Naruto mused, looking around, not moving forward. "Ah, there it is," he muttered, seeing a tiny hole in the wall. "Classic dart trap, where's the twist?" he wondered, looking around. Picking up a good-sized rock, he rolled along the corridor and watched as the ceiling slammed down on the rock, crushing it. "Good one, it's not even a dart trap," he muttered as he set into a sprinting position. "But not good enough to catch me, I'm afraid." With that, he took off running as the ceiling fell behind him, missing him by a few centimeters each time. Suddenly the traps changed on him as darts started flying out from both sides, coated in a foul-smelling concoction. Poison darts now? Naruto wondered, weaving in and out of the darts, not letting a single one hit him. "You're pretty good," the voice called out once more as Naruto cleared the hallway. "None have ever made it this far past my traps." Laughing could be heard as Naruto looked around the circular room he was in. "But now to let the volcano do its work," the voice stated as the floor dropped away into a magma stream. Naruto simply stuck to the trap door with his feet. "Yeah, no," Naruto stated, crossing his arms. "Are you done?" he asked as the voice screeched. "How are you still alive?" it screamed in a mixture of irritation and terror. "Because," Naruto began, slowly trying to find the source of the noise. Locking on, he used the shunshin to appear behind high assailant. "I'm the hero," he shouted, knocking the trap setter from his perch and onto the ground. "Now face me like a man," Naruto roared, storing away his bow staff. "Acid shot," the man screamed, shooting out globs of acid at Naruto, who quickly dodged them. "I'll melt your bones." "Too slow," Naruto shouted, kicking the man in the face, knocking him backwards. "Don't even have to use my magic," he muttered, staring at the trap setter. "Are you done already?" he asked, walking up to the downed mage. "Hardly," the man shouted, lunging at Naruto with a poisoned knife. "Now die." Naruto jerked to the side to dodge and grabbed the man's wrist and twisted. "Ah!" the man screamed in pain as he dropped the weapon. "You bah!" His scathing remarks were cut off as Naruto hit him in the back of the neck, rendering him unconscious. Naruto created a clone and had him take the man out of the volcano as Naruto located a hidden door and continued inwards. Unlike the beginning, there were no traps set up as Naruto simply walked all the way to the next chamber. Pausing outside, Naruto tried to sense who was inside the room. About 20 of them, he wondered as he pulled out his staff once more. "Here's hoping to, idiotic henchman," Naruto muttering, bursting into the room with not a sound. "What?" the closest thug muttered, only to be knocked unconscious by a bow staff to the face. "Intruder," someone shouted as they all leapt to their feet, only for a good chunk of them to be knocked down right after, as Naruto wasted no time and dealt punishing blows left and right without remorse. Within 10 minutes the group was down and Naruto was taking some calming breaths to slow his beating heart. Not bad for bandits," he muttered, actually having to strike a few more than once to keep them down. "You will never get the boss," one of them whispered hoarsely. "He'll gut you like a fish," the man cried out angrily. "You may have beaten us, but you'll never win." Naruto gazed at the man as he succumbed to his injuries and passed out. "Get them to safety," he ordered a clone he had formed as he looked round. "Sounds like there's still a few more," he muttered, noticing a lone door near the opposite end of the room. "So annoying." As Naruto entered the room, slow clapping could be heard as fire started to form a ring around the room. "Impressive," a soft voice announced from the shadows, their face obscured by the fire. "To have defeated my trap setter and my men." The person speaking calmly stood up and walked through the flames, revealing bright red clothing with a pure white mask. The clothing they wore made sex identification impossible. It didn't help that the voice was the same. "To think my group would be destroyed by one man," the leader muttered softly. "It's a job, nothing more," Naruto answered, simply placing his bow staff in front of him. "After this I have a backstabbing mayor to deal with." "Why do you work for him if you know he will betray you?" the leader asked with their soft voice. "Why not work for me, become my right hand?" "Sorry," Naruto muttered, revealing his insignia. "I'm already affiliated with Fairy Tail." He grinned as the leader sighed and shifted their stance. "Now come quietly, I can't allow bandits to roam freely in good conscience." "Then I have no choice," The leader murmured, suddenly appearing in front of Naruto with a kodachi in hand. I'll have you die here. They tried to slice open Naruto's stomach. I'm afraid not. Naruto replied in kind, blocking her strike with a kunai knife. I'm afraid I'm used to ninja tactics. He informed the assailant, easily pushing them back with his greater strength. My turn, Naruto whispered, pushing the leader back and taking a swipe at their face. Dodging the strike, the leader vanished in a burst of speed, forming after images in a circle around Naruto. Shadow step, they murmured as Naruto looked around in interest. I'll cut you down and reform the Vulcan bandit gang, they informed him as the circle got closer. Naruto grinned. Sorry, I'll have to pass on that, he stated, lashing out with a wide sweep of his bow staff, having switched back in an instant, forcing the leader to hop away. I'm afraid those tactics won't work on me, he reiterated. After all, I use them all the time. He suddenly vanished before reappearing around the leader. What? The leader hissed, startled, as they began looking around nervously. How did you copy my magic? They shouted angrily and more than a little scared. I've been using these types of skills since I was 6. Naruto announced with a laugh. I was raised as a ninja, he shouted, appearing in front of them and planting a fist in the leader's gut. Gah! The leader coughed as the mask fell away while the leader slumped to the ground, holding their stomach. Let's get a good look at your face, Naruto muttered, tilting their head back. Girl, he wondered, seeing the obviously feminine face. No, Adam's apple. Yeah, a girl. Naruto scratched his head with his free hand, using the other to keep the girl pinned. Well, what do you know? You filthy pig, get your hands off me, she shouted, trying to claw at his arm to no avail. I'd rather die than be at your mercy, she bellowed as she struggled. Naruto glanced down at her with a blank expression. No, I'm not going to do anything to you now. Stop biting my arm, it won't work. Pulling her arms towards him, he pulled out magic blocking handcuffs and cuffed her wrists together. Okay, get up, lady, you have a jail cell with your name written all over it. Suddenly the ground shook erratically, causing Naruto to stumble and the still unnamed woman to fall against him. What? He muttered once he was able to stand. The volcano is erupting, the girl shouted in alarm. We need to get to the safe room, she urged, gesturing towards a sealed-up room nearby. It's how we survived all the eruptions before. Naruto considered it for all of 1 second as a piece of magma shot up in front of him. Right, you're coming with, he stated, grabbing her and placing her on his shoulders like a sack of rice. That one right? He asked, running to a giant red door. That's the one, she shouted in return as the place started shaking violently. Yanking the door open, Naruto tossed her in before getting in himself and sealing the door shut. Uncuff me, I still need to activate the heat resistance spell. Naruto didn't even consider it a lie. As he ripped off the handcuffs, the girl quickly cast a spell and the entire room lit up in a luminescent blue. Okay, we're safe now, right? Naruto asked, slumping against the wall, huffing tiredly. Who the hell hides in an active volcano? He muttered in annoyance now that he was stuck in a closed room with an enemy. It never bothered us before, she answered defensively, and plus the annoying guards never chased us in here. She continued, sitting down on the bed. So the mayor hired you to stop us? She asked after a moment of silence. Yeah, though your trap setter called him a traitor, Naruto muttered, looking around, keeping an eye on the bandits' leader at the same time. Because he is. He used to be one of us, she answered quickly, but then he sold us out one night and became part of that town. Now he wants to erase his past. She seemed bitter about it as Naruto sighed. I'm Namikaze Naruto, a fairy tale. He introduced himself. I'm Lilith of the Vulcan bandit gang, she responded politely, fingering her wrists where the handcuffs had once been. Why's a fairy tale mage helping a cockroach like that idiot mayor? Job, Naruto answered honestly. I don't think he'll pay me, he added in after a pause. Then don't do the man a favor, he's trying to silence us, Lilith argued, leaning towards Naruto in her anger. He betrayed his gang, he's worse than trash. Naruto nodded his head as the rumblings of the volcano continued to vibrate through the walls. So how long are we stuck here? He asked, looking around. If possible, I'd rather not stay in here longer than I have to. Lilith smirked at him. Oh, roughly a week, she answered smugly. We have to wait for all the aftershocks to end and for the magma to cool a bit before heading out. she explained as Naruto's head slumped in depression. A week? He asked weakly. What the hell am I supposed to do for a week? He screamed, pulling his hair out. I'll go crazy with nothing to do for a week. He cried out in desperation as the rumblings continued, heedless of his anguished cries. Lilith giggled as she patted her bed. It's not that bad, she stated with a smile on her face. We have motion lacrima and plenty of food to last us the week. She showed him some crystalline jewels, and as she activated one, a moving image appeared on it with sounds and everything. The image showed a great battle taking place on an open field with warriors on both sides trying to strike each other down. Wow, Naruto mumbled, surprised by the uses of the lacrima crystal. That's pretty neat. So what do you have? He asked, moving to sit next to Lilith as she pulled out a box labeled Motion Lacrima. He had no mind that he was sitting next to a former enemy whatsoever. Some historical dramas, some comedies, some horror, some romance, some. She trailed off as her face took on an odd red tinge before she quickly stuffed the crystal she was holding back into the box. One of my men must have been playing a prank on me, she muttered to cover her actions. Naruto's sweat dropped but let the matter drop as she hastily activated one of the comedies and set it up so they could watch. So what's this one called? He asked as the opening credits began. Laika and Her Island of Bananas. Lilith answered, checking the label, causing Naruto to choke on air. What? She asked, concerned. Do you even know what that implies? Naruto asked, coughing into his hand as the actual movie began. No, she muttered before turning to the screen. Oh my god, what the hell? She screamed as a busty red head showed up in the image being fucked by 3 guys. She turned to Naruto in horror. Why is this in my comedy section? She screamed, trying to turn it off to no avail as her frayed nerves prevented her from properly turning off the crystal. Naruto simply created a sign and held it up for her. Bananas equals penis, it read, causing Lilith to clutch her head and moan in distress. Yup, it does, Naruto muttered, nodding his head as he put the sign away. Lilith groaned, having finally managed to shut off the crystal via destruction. I can't believe that happened, she muttered, sounding disturbed. All right this time, or sure nothing like that, she muttered before pulling out another one. This one should be fine. It's called Lara and the Golden Rod. I don't remember it being part of my collection, but it should be okay. Naruto bit his lip to prevent himself from commenting as the other meaning made itself known to him. Okay this time for sure, Lilith reassured herself for the 5th time as the movie started. The movie started out fine as a rather pretty raven-haired girl made her way through the jungle. Oh, seems pretty good, Naruto muttered, crossing his legs. Suddenly the girl was caught in a net and surrounded by a tribe of men. Okay, never mind, I see where this is going, Naruto muttered, closing his eyes as Lilith glanced at him curiously. Oh my god, what the fuck? She screamed when the men began raping the poor girl. Hastily Lilith crushed the crystal, halting the image it was producing. Maybe movies aren't good after all, she muttered, looking through her stash. Flashpoint? She asked, holding it up. What do you think, Naruto? Naruto crossed his arms in an X formation. Think I know where that could go to? He answered, probably about flashers or something. I'll take a quick peek to make sure. Lilith decided, putting in some magic in order to activate the crystal. Suddenly a pair of boobs appeared in front of her. Crushing it, she sighed. Movies aren't good, she muttered, putting the box away. Just what were my men doing behind my back? She wondered as she sat next to Naruto and began swinging her legs back and forth out of boredom. Well, if movies are out, there isn't much to do in here, she admitted as she began to fan herself. Oh dear, the heat's rising due to the eruption, she muttered, tugging at her clothing which was beginning to cling to her. Naruto quickly pulled off his clothing and stored them away, leaving him in nothing but shorts. I don't like heat much, he muttered as sweat began dripping down his body. Lilith watched entranced as liquid slid down Naruto's body, sculpted from his lifestyle. Lilith, Naruto asked, snapping her out of her trance. What? She asked, looking away, blushing. Is there something you need? Why were you staring at me? He asked bluntly. Don't tell me you've fallen for my dashing good looks. He flipped his hair back, causing her to laugh. Oh, shut up, you Fabio wannabe, she barked out in between laughter as she rolled around on her bed. Oh, shut up, I had girlfriend, Naruto barked out in embarrassment. The statement caused Lilith to stop her rolling around as she sat up in surprise. Really? She asked, to which Naruto nodded. To who? When? How long ago? She asked, rapid fire getting in his face. I just can't picture someone as young as you attached to anyone like that. Naruto showed her a picture of him and Hinata at the park where he had placed a hand around her waist as he used the other one to hold the camera. We were going to get married before I was dragged away from her and ended up in fury. Naruto explained, sadly rubbing a finger along the picture. Lilith stared at the photo and licked her lips. I'd love a round with her. She admitted freely before allowing Naruto to place the photo away. What? She asked as Naruto gave her an odd stare. I like both, she stated proudly while placing a hand on her hip, the other on her chest. Ew. I'm all sweaty, she muttered, pulling her hand away from her clothing. Hold that thought, I need to put away my clothes, she muttered, walking off into another room. A minute later she came out in nothing but underwear as she sat back down beside Naruto. So, you're bisexual? Naruto asked after a moment of awkward silence. Yup, Lilith stated honestly, though I don't like pornos, I freely admit to playing both sides of the fence. She ran a finger along his chin. Is that a problem? No, Naruto answered her quietly as he pushed her hand away from him. You'd have my girlfriend a stuttering wreck though. She has trouble with these topics, they embarrass her too much. So she's the pure and innocent type, Lilith muttered, wiping her chin of drool as she thought about Hinata. Oh, how I'd love to spend a night with the two of you, she muttered to herself, though Naruto still heard it. I'm touched, I really am, but I do believe Hinata's a bit possessive. It was a lie, he was sure, since Hinata was too nice to be possessive. But she certainly wouldn't be happy about the thought of sharing him. Oh, then she can you all to herself, but I still want to play with her. Lilith apparently didn't care as her hands made soft squeezing motions that reminded Naruto of Jiraiya. They're so big, he heard Lilith mumble under her breath. Do you want to go to Magnolia Town with me? Naruto asked somewhat hesitantly, seeing her obviously perverted thoughts for what they were. Can I? She asked excitedly before her perverted grin broke out again. All the pretty girls of Fairy Tail, drool started falling from her mouth. Naruto chuckled softly as a sweat drop began forming on his head. What have I done? He wondered to himself as he settled down for a good nap. The week went by rather quickly to both occupants, surprised as they managed to find the movies that weren't porn amongst the stash and had a few good laughs with some of the comedies. Okay, finally time to go back, he mumbled, stretching as he poked the still sleeping Lilith in the butt. Come on, time to put on the act, Lilith, he stated as they had rehearsed lines for an explanation as to why she was with him. Right, Lilith agreed, putting on bland-colored traveling clothing as Naruto donned what he had been wearing when he first arrived. I'm a traveler who had been captured by the gang and you rescued me, while the leader of the gang escaped during the eruption. Good, Naruto nodded his head in approval as they made their way out of the volcano. Let's go see if this douchebag will actually pay me my money, he muttered as they continued walking. Reaching the town, Naruto was surprised to see the mayor waiting for him in front of the town. Mayor, he greeted as Lilith nodded her head in respect. I've finished the job, the bandits are brought in, but their leader managed to escape during the eruption, however I have saved an innocent who was there as well. The mayor nodded his head. I really must thank you for ridding me of those intolerable bandits. He began with a smile. Now I only have one loose end to deal with. The mayor snapped his fingers as his guards all surrounded the two and moved into attack. Kill them, Naruto sighed as he seemed to disappear. Where did he go? One of the hired swords screamed, looking around. Who cares, kill the girl first. Another screamed back. How about none of that happens? Naruto asked, reappearing behind them. What? The mayor asked shakily as his men all fell to the ground unconscious. Now then, what should we do with you? He asked as the mayor fell to his knees. I'm sorry, he screamed in terror. Turn yourself in to the royal guard, and release the women you hold in servitude, Naruto ordered as he clutched the man's shirt, and pay me my money. He gave the mayor his scariest glare and the man nodded his head rapidly. I'm glad we came to this understanding. 30 minutes later found Naruto and Lilith walking along the road to Magnolia as Naruto happily juggled a bag full of jewels. Oh, it feels wonderful having money in my hands again, he stated, causing Lilith to giggle. First I'll buy dinner, Then I'll buy some clothes I can change into, and then a house. How much did you earn for the job? Lilith asked curiously. Let's see, 85,000 jewels. Naruto stated happily. Lilith staggered a bit in shock. That's all, she screamed in shock. That's pocket change. On average dinner at a restaurant costs 30,000 each and a house costs 1 million easy. Hell, all you can afford is dinner for the two of us and a pair of pants that'll last for a week. Naruto stared at her in surprise before clutching the bag and screaming. Seriously, my gang was only worth 85,000 to that pissy-ass mayor. She asked, insulted. A group of 10 bandits is worth 100,000 on average, 10,000 a person. End. Hope you all thought the wait was worth this. It's a bit longer than usual for me, so don't get used to this chapter length. Anyways, I don't plan on pairing Naruto with anyone anytime soon, but Lilith will play parts often as a sort of tag along with Naruto whenever he's on his own. And she'll interact with the guild often, sexually harass. Based on what I saw from the manga, 85,000 jewels isn't a lot, since according to Lucy 70,000 a month rent for a house near the guild hall is fair due to a high chance of property damage. Meaning that the better situated houses would cost a lot more. 1 million sounded fair to me. Returning. Hey guys, another chapter of Not From Around Here, for you. I hope you like it. Alright, first things first. This chapter is after Natsu and the others return from the Nirvana mission. This chapter covers the meeting with Gildarts, and next chapter will begin Daedalus. Speech. Thoughts. Techniques. Dragon, demon speech. Last time, Lilith staggered a bit in shock. That's all, she screamed in shock. That's pocket change. On average dinner at a restaurant costs 30,000 each and a house costs 1 million easy. Hell, all you can afford is dinner for the two of us and a pair of pants that'll last for a week. Naruto stared at her in surprise before clutching the bag and screaming. Seriously, my gang was only worth 85,000 to that pissy-ass mayor. She asked, insulted. A group of 10 bandits is worth 100,000 on average, 10,000 a person. Returners. Now Lilith, please remember your promise. Naruto pleaded as they neared the town of Magnolia. What was it again? He asked to make sure she remembered. Lilith rolled her eyes. Don't reveal that I used to be a bandit, don't steal anything, live an honest life as a guild member, and don't molest you in public. Actually, your promise was not to molest anyone at all. Naruto corrected, causing Lilith to click her tongue in annoyance. He noticed. She muttered, looking off to the side, causing a sweat drop to form on Naruto's head. You were planning to do something perverted, weren't you? Naruto screamed as his eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. No, of course not. Lilith denied, shaking her head rapidly back and forth. Whatever gave you that idea? She asked, looking away from Naruto. I don't know, that lady in Copper Town? Those two sisters on the road here? Just now with the waitress at our last restaurant? Naruto listed off, causing Lilith to frown darkly. There was also that time you slipped into the shower with me, or that time when you crawled into my bed, or even the time when I caught you peeking on my bath. Lilith rubbed her head tiredly before holding up a hand to stop his ranting. I get it, she muttered with a sigh. I promise I won't do anything like that. She looked away. In front of you. She mumbled softly. I heard that, Naruto shouted as he walked away. Lilith gave him an odd stare but hurried after him when he didn't stop walking. Huh, something seems different, he muttered, noticing large walls along the roads in the town. Some sort of emergency drill? He asked as the sound of a ringing bell sounded throughout the area. The townspeople are getting exited, Lilith noted as excited whisperings reached their ears. Whatever it is, it's nothing bad. Seems that way. Better get to the guild anyways though, Naruto stated as they continued on their way. Hey, doesn't it seem like they're guiding someone to the guild? He asked, noting that all of the unblocked streets led to the guild. Initiating the Gildarts shift, everyone please get to your stations. The public announcement system rang out as everyone began running around. Naruto's eye twitched as he watched the whole thing. They divided the entire town, he mumbled in disbelief. Just who is this guy? Gildarts, Lilith asked curiously. If I recall correctly, isn't he Fairy Tail's strongest mage? She asked, looking at Naruto for clarification. Hell if I know, I joined last month. He muttered, rubbing his head tiredly. In any case, let's get to the guild, he suggested as they continued walking.
Is that it? Lilith asked, pointing out the famed guild house.
Yeah, looks like the man of the hour is there as well. Naruto nodded his head as he picked up the pace lest the man leave without giving him a chance to greet him. Come on, don't think he'll stay for long. He urged Lilith who, though confused, picked up the pace as well. Upon arriving, the first thing they heard was the shout of, "Guildarts, fight me!" Naruto palmed his face.
THT would be Natsu. He muttered, opening the doors. The first thing they saw was an older man, most likely Guildarts, knocking Natsu into the ceiling with a friendly wave of his hand. Well now, I wasn't expecting that. Naruto mused as Lilith openly gaped. Naruto, you're back, Lucy shouted, seeing her fellow blonde. What took you so long? She asked as Guildarts turned around curiously. Ah, I got trapped in an erupting volcano with this girl here. He pushed Lilith in front of him. She was a hostage mage of the bandit group I was sent after. A pleasure to meet you all. Lilith bowed her head in greeting. Naruto told me I might be able to join the guild. Makarov smiled. Of course you can. He cheered, raising a mug of beer. I trust Naruto's judgment. The master laughed uproariously as the others of the guild smiled. So are you a new member? Guildarts asked, turning around. Naruto smiled. I joined last month. He explained, and I just got back from my first job. Guildarts laughed. Right, the Harvest Festival was last month, wasn't it? He asked. I almost forgot that they don't post any missions during that time period.
Hey Guildarts, Naruto's really strong too, just like you. Natsu shouted energetically. I want to know which of you two is stronger. Naruto instinctively took a few steps back since Natsu might jump down and attack as was his nature. Not today, Natsu. I want to go home and rest. Guildarts waved it off easily and turned back to the master. Sorry master, I failed. There was a stunned silence as the others widened their eyes.
So even you couldn't do it, huh? Makarov asked sadly. Well, in any case, I'm happy you've come back alive. None of the others who went out were so lucky. Right. Natsu, come on over later, I got something for you. The older man called out, looking up at Natsu, who was still stuck in the ceiling. Anyways, see everyone later, he called out, walking through the wall. Ah, go through the door, Guildarts. One of the other members shouted angrily. I take it he loses control when he isn't concentrating? Naruto asked with a sweat drop on his head. Yeah, you could say that. Mirajan stated with a pleasant smile on her face. Now miss, what is your name so we can begin your application process? She asked as she led Lilith away from the others. Naruto waved at Lilith, encouraging her to follow the white-haired woman. Oh, we have another new member. He muttered, spotting Wendy. So you joined us after all, eh? He asked with a small smile. Ah, Naruto-san, hello. Wendy greeted with a smile as she waved at him. Charles, it's Naruto-san, she informed the cat who looked over her shoulder. Oh, the stupid-looking ruffian. Charles muttered disdainfully. You shouldn't associate with it. So cold, the others of the guild muttered in shock. Naruto merely smiled, and Naruto's pissed. They continued, remembering a similar reaction to a certain magazine article.
So care to tell me what happened? He asked, referring to her transfer into the guild. If I recall, you were part of another guild. He stated as Lilith rejoined them. Oh, after the Team Light mission my master passed and so Lucy extended an invitation to me. Wendy explained softly. Naruto made an "oh" form with his mouth and looked down at his feet, feeling guilty about bringing it up. I'm currently staying at Fairy Hills. Wendy declared happily.
Where? Naruto asked curiously. I haven't heard of it. It's the female dorms near the guild. Lucy explained, jumping into the conversation. The rent is 10 million jewels a month. 10 million, isn't that a lot for just rent? Naruto asked, stunned. I mean, my job only gave me 85,000 and I've already spent 20,000 just on food and clothes for me and Lilith here. Lucy laughed. Yeah, my rent is only 70,000 a month, but that's because the property value is low, being so close to the guild. Is 70,000 by chance the cheapest rent here? Lilith asked worriedly. Yeah, I think it is. Gray stated in his boxers. Why, how much do you have? Naruto palmed his face and pointed out Gray's nudeness. Combined we have about 68,000 jewels. He informed them. Well, the guild members shared looks. You can stay here in the guild for now, Erza stated, patting both on the shoulder. It must be hard for both of you. She muttered sympathetically. Don't worry, we'll get you plenty of jobs in order to make rent.
Oh, thank you. Lilith shouted, hugging Erza, taking the chance to rub her head against the armored girl's breasts. Thank you, Erza Shama. Shama. The others asked, staring at the odd scene as Erza tried, without success, to pry the girl off. Oi, Naruto, Gray muttered, turning to their newest blonde who was shaking his head.
Lilith, your promise. Naruto muttered softly, grabbing onto her collar. Please stop bothering Erza, he ordered, yanking her back. Ah, Lilith whined dejectedly. I wanted to hug Erza Shama more. As if to make a point, a river of tears flowed from her eyes. Quit faking it, Naruto ordered, causing the crimson-clothed woman to click her tongue in annoyance. TCH, you're no fun, she muttered, crossing her arms over her chest. You two seem to have a good relationship, Levi muttered, somewhat confused by their interactions. Oh, she's so cute, Lilith squealed, pulling Levi into embrace, lifting the shorter woman off her feet. Hey Naruto, can I stay with her? For the safety of her chastity, no. Naruto muttered in complete deadpan as Lilith sighed and reluctantly released Levi, who backed away from her quickly. Lilith is a pervert, Juvia thinks. The water mage stated observantly. As bad as old men. She continued, earning herself nods of agreement all around the guild. In my defense, there are simply too many pretty girls here, Lilith stated, flicking her hair back. And not enough handsome men. She glanced over a few of the guys and rolled her eyes.
Hey! The male guild members shouted in frustration as Naruto palmed his face. Naruto, what the hell is with this girl? They all screamed, causing him to sigh heavily. I should have left her at Diamond Town, he muttered, rubbing his temples to stem the headache he was getting. Natsu scratched his head. Well, I'm going to see Guildarts, he called out, running out of the guild hall. Everyone waved him off as Makarov grinned.
Welcome party for Lilith, he cheered, raising a beer mug. There was a loud chorus of agreement as everyone grabbed a beer and began drinking. Yes, it's always like this, Naruto stated, grabbing a mug himself as he sat down. You'll get used to it, he added, in causing Lilith to sweat drop as she looked around. Would that be a good thing? She wondered aloud, causing Naruto to chuckle as Kana joined them. Oh, it's better than going insane, she slurred, already tipsy from guzzling down an entire barrel of ale on her own. And we can drink as much as we want for free in here. At this point she had wrapped an arm around Lilith, not that the former bandit minded, and forced the girl to drink a mug of ale. There you go. Naruto blinked in surprise as Lilith gained a dark red tinge across her cheeks. Oh great, she's drunk already, he muttered tiredly as Lilith staggered around in a drunken stupor. Way to go, Kana. No problem, Kana called out with a drunken grin on her face. Everyone needs to try the beer here at least once. Try it, not chug it, Naruto mumbled to himself as he moved to grab Lilith before she could get into any trouble. Come on, let's get you to bed, he muttered, supporting her weight over his shoulder. Out of my way, drunk coming through, he shouted as he dragged Lilith to one of the guild bedrooms for such occasions when a member drinks too much. Natu, where is here? Lilith asked in a drunken slur. Why ish everything spinnin'? Lilith closed her eyes in an effort to stem the headache. I ish sleepy, she muttered, grabbing hold of Naruto and pulling him down to join her. You ish Teddy, she slurred before she started snoring.
Naruto blinked in surprise before he realized what had happened. Oh come on, he whined, trying to free himself. Since when did she have such a strong grip? He wondered as he found himself unable to break away. Excuse me, Naruto, Mirajane asked, walking into the room. Oh, am I interrupting? Sorry, she apologized before backing out of the room. Wait, Mira-chan, it's not what it looks like, Naruto screamed desperately. I'm stuck, please come back, I need help. He cried out, only to be ignored as Mira pinned up a do not disturb sign on the door. End. Alright, it's short, I know, don't comment about that. Anyways, this is more or less a filler chapter before we go into the Daedalus arc. First of all, yes, Lilith will be active in that arc as well. She'll be around Naruto the whole time though. Don't ask about pairings, if I told you that'd be spoiling the story. Lastly, there is a poll on my profile open until I finish the story, Tendo's new neighbors. Gathering their bearings. Hey guys, another chapter of Not From Around Here, for you. I hope you like it. Alright everyone, get ready for Daedalus.
I actually don't remember anything at all from that arc. I'd better read it again before I actually start. Just so you know, this AN was written separately from the actual chapter to follow. Speech, thoughts, techniques, dragon, demon speech. Last time, Naruto blinked in surprise before he realized what had happened. Oh come on, he whined, trying to free himself. Since when did she have such a strong grip? He wondered as he found himself unable to break away. Excuse me, Naruto, Miragen asked, walking into the room. Oh, am I interrupting? Sorry, she apologized before backing out of the room.
Wait, Mira-chan, it's not what it looks like, Naruto screamed desperately. I'm stuck, please come back, I need help. He cried out only to be ignored as Mira pinned up a "Do not disturb" sign on the door.
Gathering their bearings, Naruto gazed out into the rainy sky, uncaring about the banter being thrown about the guild hall as Lilith stood next to him. What are you watching, Naruto? She asked, looking around for the youngest member of Fairy Tail, Wendy Marvell, who had run out to chase after her talking cat friend Charles. You even missed Mira-chan and Elfman walking out to go to the church. Naruto glanced at her before looking back out. I didn't miss that, but something is happening, Naruto stated, looking into the sky as something akin to a vortex began to form. That opening in the sky, he stated, pointing at the hole. Looks exactly like the one that brought me here, he explained as his eyes widened, a familiar feeling washing over him. It feels the same because it is the same, he muttered softly as Lilith looked on in worry. Is there something we can do? She asked, wringing her hands together worriedly. Naruto shook his head as a pulling sensation fell upon him. No, hang on to me, I have a feeling whoever is activating that spell isn't very friendly, he declared, holding out his hand to her. Lilith nodded her head and grasped his hand as everything began to spin. Almost immediately the sensation of free falling took hold of them both as Naruto held Lilith close to him lest they be separated. What's going on? Lilith managed to scream as they were sucked into the sky. Something very, very bad, Naruto replied as he covered her head, shielding her from debris, as just as the sensations began, it stopped as they landed roughly on the ground. Naruto quickly reoriented himself before noticing a group of what looked to be soldiers pointing some sort of device at them. Time to move, Naruto shouted as he grabbed Lilith and used a quick shunshin to vanish from sight. Where'd they go? The soldiers shouted in shock even as they covered the area in what seemed to be a quickly crystallizing liquid. Damn it, find them. We need them to make the lacrima crystals, the commanding officer shouted as they finished crystallizing the town.
Hidden on the roofs above them, Naruto and Lilith frowned in thought as they watched the soldiers disperse. What's going on? Lilith wondered as she tried to activate her magic. I can't use my magic here. Naruto frowned. My abilities work just fine, the perks of not using magic, I suppose, he mused, causing Lilith to pout. Are you sure I can't learn your stuff? She asked, pouting at him cutely. Positive, your coils aren't properly developed to use your own life's energy. I can help you hone your physical abilities, but none of the really cool shit I can do. Naruto gave her the thumbs up as she sagged her shoulders unhappily. Great, so I'm useless here, she mumbled sadly. So what do we do now? She asked, looking down. Follow me, right now we need to figure out what's going on, Naruto explained as he grabbed her around the waist and jumped off the roof, landing outside of the crystallization zone. Let's head into town. Those guys looking for us will assume we went there first. Then shouldn't we not go that way? Lilith questioned curiously, not seeing the logic of going where your pursuers would think you'd go. Normally I'd say yes, but right now information trumps personal safety, he clarified. Plus I can pick some pockets for quick cash so we can buy some clothing the locals won't notice easily. Lilith nodded her head as she followed him towards a town that a nearby sign was pointing them towards. A light, there's the town, now what? She asked as Naruto knelt down to observe everything below them. The town was only lightly guarded, with a normal wall and some gate guards to keep it safe from the outside. Naruto apparently saw what he was looking for and gestured her to follow him while also placing his finger against his lips to signal silence. As they made their way down, Naruto kept a low profile as he snuck up to the wall where no guards could be seen. Placing his back up against the wall, he gestured for her to run up to him. Grab the ledge, he suggested as she gulped nervously. Swallowing a large lump, Lilith ran forward and jumped into Naruto's arms, who proceeded to fling her into the air. Grabbing onto the wall's edge, she pulled herself up as Naruto walked up to meet her. "You couldn't just carry me?" she asked in irritation.
Naruto used his pinky to clean his ears uncaringly. "Faster this way, also gets you used to free climbing a bit," he explained as they peered over the edge to watch the civilians walking around. "Now it's a little too dangerous to outright train you until we can go back, if we can go back, but for now it'll be an on-the-spot lesson as we go," he stated as he began memorizing the normal fashion sense of the locals. "You're honestly too used to using magic to get around. Now's a good time to learn how to do everything without it." "What do you mean?" Lilith asked curiously, as she watched the people walk around a bit. "I don't want to brag, but I'm pretty strong, you know," she boasted. "Alright, jump down the wall and climb back up," Naruto suggested, looking at her seriously. The wall suddenly seemed a bit taller than before to the woman, who chuckled nervously. "Glad you see it my way. Alright, I think I understand how an average person here looks," he muttered, forming hand signs as he spoke. "Kage Bunshin," he muttered as a group of 5 clones appeared around him. "Henge," he muttered again as all 5 clones took on different appearances. Ignoring his companion's surprise, Naruto quickly muttered his orders as the clones nodded before taking off. What was that?" Lilith asked, a little dazed by the show. "There were 6 of you. And then 5 of you changed shape." Naruto snorted, amused by her reactions. "I made solid copies of myself and had them transform themselves into random people by taking on physical features from various people I saw down below. They'll pick some pockets for us and then get us some real clothes so we don't have to worry about being discovered." Lilith gazed at Naruto in some surprise, only having seen the serious side of him once before. "Naruto, do you know what's going on?" she asked as a pair of clones appeared before them carrying a few bags of clothing. "And that was fast," Lilith added in with a sweat drop, seeing the bags meant for her. Frowning, she picked out a pair of blue jeans and a simple white t-shirt before shedding her current outfit. "Couldn't they pick out better clothing?" she asked, annoyed by how bland her outfit was.
"Hey, the less we leave an impression the better," Naruto stated, revealing he too was wearing a far less eye-catching outfit consisting of blue jeans and a dark orange shirt. "How did your clones get these so fast?" she wondered as the clones burned the unneeded outfits before disappearing. "I'm just that good," Naruto smirked at her, causing her to roll her eyes. "Right, now we have to get down from here unseen, and casually walk out onto the street as if we belong here," he explained as he began climbing down the side of the wall into an alleyway below them. "Right, doesn't sound too hard," Lilith muttered, rolling her eyes. "Hey, you know how easy it is to blow your own cover?" Naruto asked as they reached the ground. "If you let on you don't know whatever commonplace in the area is, then they'll know you're an outsider." "Right," Lilith muttered apologetically as they stepped onto the streets and blended in with the crowd. "So what are we going to do?" she asked. "How are we going to save the others?" Naruto frowned. "I'm working on it," he stated as they neared a bar. "If we play our cards right, we'll find out what's going on in here. People are always looser with secrets when drunk. You'd know, huh?" Lilith asked with a smirk. "Yeah, from experience as a listener," Naruto stated, shrugging. "That's why I know you want to tie Erza down and have your naughty little way with her." Lilith blushed, but Naruto continued anyways. "I also know you have trouble sleeping without something in your arms, hence your tendency to grab onto me before you go to sleep." Lilith's blush flared up as she punched him in the arm. Chuckling, Naruto held the door open for her as they entered the bar. Seeing 2 open seats at the counter, Naruto and Lilith made their way over and sat down to a man who was chugging a mug of ale. "Hey, I'll have what he's having," Naruto ordered as Lilith simply ordered water. "You have good taste," the man stated, seeing Naruto as he finished his drink. "You new here?" Naruto scratched his head. "Sort of," he admitted sheepishly. "Just getting reacquainted with the area. Been a while, you know," he joked as the man nodded. "Oh yeah, I saw those soldiers up on the ridge as I walked into the city. They setting up for a festival or something."
"I thought you said to play the part of a local," Lilith hissed quietly. "He already suspects we're new to town, might as well agree," Naruto whispered back without alerting the man of his conversation. "Oh, that," the man asked, ordering another drink. "The king sucked up some high magic source from that other world, gonna use it to provide the world with magic, you know." He explained as Naruto received his drink and took a swig. Oh, I see, I guess that's good, never needed magic myself though. He stated looking into his mug. Same here, but it makes things convenient, too bad it's limited here, now we got to steal it from that other world, Earthland or whatever they call it. Yeah, seems rather difficult to try and take magic from this other world without picking up the people there. Naruto commented idly before he sighed and took another gulp. Are you kidding? King don't care about that. The otherworlders can produce magic from their own bodies. King wants them for power supplies, turn them into lacrima and we got ourselves a giant source of energy. I see, Naruto muttered with narrowed eyes. What happens to those guys that get sucked up? I mean the king really can't condone just killing them, right? The man snorted. The king hasn't been the same since the crisis of our depleting magic began. He muttered sadly. The lives of others just don't matter to him anymore.
I see, thank you for the information. Naruto stated, paying for his drink as he and Lilith left the bar. What now? She asked as they walked around. I'm all but useless without my magic, you're only one person, and we still don't know how to revert everyone back to normal, or even go back home, she stated worriedly.
We learned about as much as we could the nice and simple way. Naruto stated, we need to get a little more aggressive for the important stuff now. He grinned darkly. We'll start with the small fry, learn patrol routes, overall goals of our enemies, leaders, powers, weapons, then we can go after bigger targets, learn blueprints, reversing the crystallization process, and finally we'll interrogate the king himself and learn how to reverse his little wormhole trick. Naruto, you're scaring me, Lilith stated with a sweat drop as Naruto's grin grew maniacal. Good, Naruto muttered as they entered an alleyway. Fear is a very good tool to use in interrogations. I had a friend, back home, she had men spilling their guts before she even began because her reputation for torture was so legendary. Oh really? Lilith asked curiously. What did she do? Her first victim was castrated with a wooden spoon, and then she rubbed salt into his wounds, then she force-fed him his own testicles. To top it all off, she made his Tem watch the entire thing before releasing them after getting the information she wanted. Lilith shuddered at the mental image that came up. That sounds really gross. You should see what she does to people she doesn't like. Naruto muttered, suppressing a shiver of his own. Back onto the issue at hand. We need to catch a guard.
Oh, that won't be an issue at all, Lilith stated with a grin as they neared what looked to be a patrol route, as every so often a city guard would walk by. Sir? Lilith called out, catching the guard's attention. Could you help me? I was taking a shortcut home but my bag spilled open. I need a big strong man to help me carry my groceries home. She winked flirtatiously at him as she entered the alleyway, adding a little extra sway in her hips.
The man didn't even hesitate as he quickly followed her into the alleyway. Come on baby, where are you? He muttered excitedly, looking around. You'd think guards would learn to think with their brains and not their dicks after all these years. Naruto muttered as he slammed the guard into the wall before hoisting him up into the air, a knife appearing in his hand as he held it against the man's throat. Tell me what I want to know and you may leave here alive. He whispered dangerously. You wouldn't dare. The guard hissed, unable to raise his voice with the knife at his jugular. Naruto pressed the knife in, drawing some blood. Try me, he hissed in response. Naruto, he's reaching for something. Lilith shouted out, noticing the guard's hands moving up a bit. Naruto growled before slamming the man's head against the wall multiple times. Try it again, I dare you. He growled as he cut the man's arms. You think I'll break from a little cut like that? The man growled. You little pussy. Naruto grinned demonically. I was hoping you'd say that, he stated as he dropped the guard before shattering the man's kneecap. The man screamed in pain, causing Naruto's grin to widen. Go ahead, scream all you want. No one can hear you. Suddenly Naruto's presence seemed to swell up before the man until Naruto was towering over him, gleaming eyes anticipating his resistance.
I'll talk, the man screamed, terrified. Good, I want to know all of the kingdom's patrol routes, the kingdom's goals, your leaders and their abilities, the powers of your army, your weapons, everything you know. Naruto nodded his head as he healed the man's leg before erasing his memories. For a low-level grunt he was sure informed. He muttered as Lilith shivered in fear. The king's a madman, she muttered, horrified by the man's obsession for an eternal magical source.
He wants to kill our friends just to get magic and still it's not enough. Naruto grunted. Luckily because that guy knew a lot we can skip right up to bigger targets now. He explained as they exited the alleyway. However, some of the leaders concern me, Erza Nightwalker, Lillian Theorith aka Lilith, Uzumaki Naruto. Lilith frowned as well. So, we may be fighting ourselves. She wondered. It sounded like Erza was more or less the same as ours if only on a different team. However, if what he said was true, here is an amazingly strong ninja. And you sound like a mystic or something. She grasped her own hands and sighed. Will we be okay? Naruto grinned. You wanna know the best training method to prepare? He asked looking at her. Glancing at him she nodded her head. Just as she did the sound of shouting came to her ears. Practice, he stated as he gestured for her to follow him. The scene they came upon was a group of higher-ranked soldiers apprehending Lucy. You must be Lucy, you're coming with us. One of the soldiers shouted, handling her rather roughly. I may be Lucy, but what's going on? She shouted angrily as she struggled against them. Shall we? Naruto asked, tilting his head to the side, holding out a nodashi for her.
What happened to lying low? Lilith asked, accepting the weapon. Friends come before the mission. Naruto stated cheerfully as they nodded their heads before jumping into the fray. Naruto leapt into the air, his kunai knives sliding into his hands, the force of his leap knocking the guard holding Lucy to the ground before his life was stolen as Naruto drove his knife into the man's throat.
Lilith took the opening Naruto gave her and gracefully danced around the guards, slashing them across the chest as she passed by, just as Natsu, Wendy, and another Lucy came out to join them. Lilith-sama, Uzumaki-sama, what are you doing? The guards yelled, shocked that their own leaders would attack them. She is a criminal, a dark mage. Naruto grinned and revealed his fairy tale tattoo, as did Lilith. I am Namikaze Naruto, of Fairy Tail. I am Lilith of Fairy Tail. Lilith announced as well as the civilians began to flee. We shall not allow you to harm our guild mate. What's going on? The guards mumbled, shocked as Lucy pulled out a key. Open gate of the ram. Ares. She shouted as a girl, who looked to be part ram, came out looking around timidly. Ares, can you take the rest of them out? Lucy asked as the guards stepped back in surprise. I'll try, the ram stated as she ran forward. Wool bomb. A large amount of wool came forth from her palms as the wave engulfed the soldiers, knocking them away. That's our cue to leave, Naruto announced as the second Lucy led them away from the city. So, I take it the one dressed in leather is this world's Lucy? Naruto stated once they were all seated. Yeah, what's it to you, Uzumaki? She hissed, glaring at him. You've killed our master, why should I trust you? Her hatred was genuine as Naruto scratched his head.
We're the Earthland versions of the people you know, Lilith stated reassuringly. We're both part of Fairy Tail. Yeah, I'd recognize these two no matter what, Natsu boasted. No way someone without magic could beat them. He looked at the two quizzically. By the way, why aren't you trapped with the others?
Naruto snorted. You only now notice that? He muttered, amazed. To answer your question, I got us out of the way before they could crystallize us. I couldn't save any of the others. What about you three? Charles sighed. Natsu and Wendy are fine because of their Dragon Slayer magic, however they can't use magic right now. She explained, looking snobbish as always. Lucy smiled. When the guild was sucked up, Horologium appeared and kept me safe in a separate time. After he let me out saying that we were safe, Mistogen appeared before me and explained the circumstances and flew me to this world. Why can only you use magic? Happy wondered before he looked at the two others. Can you two use magic? He wondered, tapping his head. I can't, Lilith stated, shrugging. I never used magic in the first place. Naruto explained as well as he folded his arms. But my abilities do work, he added in before they could complain. Your abilities aren't magic? Natsu questioned curiously. Nope, I use chakra, Naruto explained simply. Seeing their confused expressions, he sighed. I use my own life force, he explained, waving them off. Isn't that forbidden magic? Lucy wondered worriedly. That stuff is dangerous.
Only if I go past the point of exhaustion, and plus I've been trained in this stuff since I was 6. Chakra depletion is the least of my worries. Naruto turned serious. Alright though, the biggest concerns are the three leaders, Erza, Lilith and Naruto, he stated, looking around. They're the three strongest commanders in the king's army, not including the king himself, who is supposed to fairly strong as well.
I have a feeling we'll be able to find our Erza soon enough, so we'll leave Nightwalker to her. However, Lilith is a better fighter than our Lilith, who was used to using magic to enhance her own abilities, so that may be troublesome. He bit his lip as he considered the next part. I'll deal with their Naruto. The guy sounds like some of the people I've had to kill back home. God complex and powers to back it up. The only thing he really lacks is clout in order to control people. Can you do it? Edo Lucy asked hopefully. That bastard killed our master. What's worse, he made it look easy. Ah, I'll figure something out, Naruto stated, waving it off. Let's go, we need to find somewhere we can rest. The others nodded their heads in agreement. Honestly, I'm surprised you aren't shocked to hear I've killed people before, he stated, looking around at everyone. You always had the scent of blood on you, Natsu stated, folding his arms. I just assumed you've lived on the road for a long time. Bandits are everywhere, and I know that you need to stop them from following you if you don't have a location to return to. Surprisingly insightful and accepting considering the guild. Lucy shrugged her shoulders. I guess I always kind of painted you as a warrior, she admitted, playfully sticking out her tongue. Wendy nodded her head in agreement. Edo Lucy smiled. Come on, I know somewhere we can rest before I take you guys to the capital, she stated as they all stood up in preparation. End. Alright, there you have the first part of Edolus. Honestly, I was considering not making doubles of Naruto and Lilith, but then I thought, she needs development as a mage, and he needs a challenge to make this not a Naruto owns everyone story. So he gets to fight another person who calls themselves God. Have fun with that, Naruto troll face. Honestly, I'm not sure what I'm doing really. I actually forgot which family name I had set for Naruto, so I had to look that up again. And since they're both names that can apply to him, it may get confusing, but just know that Namikaze refers to hero Naruto and Uzumaki refers to villain Naruto.
For the name Lillian Theorith, I just wanted a name in which you could take some of the first letters and make Lilith. However, Lily didn't really work well in my opinion, and so I chose Lillian.
I'm not quite sure how long I will make this arc, probably not that long. I'll go into some of the Exceed stuff, show some more bits of interaction between Naruto and Lilith. Naruto will have an encounter or two with Erza Nightwalker. I will, however, try to place all the major fights in the last chapter of the arc. So next chapter may be short if I feel that the fights should wait a bit more. Gritting their teeth. Hey guys, another chapter of Not From Around Here, for you. I hope you like it. Alright everyone, get ready for Edolus Part 2. I actually don't remember anything at all from that arc. I'd better read it again before I actually start. Just so you know, this AN was written separately from the actual chapter to follow. Speech, thoughts, techniques, dragon, demon speech. Last time, you always had the scent of blood on you, Natsu stated, folding his arms. I just assumed you've lived on the road for a long time. Bandits are everywhere, and I know that you need to stop them from following you if you don't have a location to return to. Surprisingly insightful and accepting considering the guild. Lucy shrugged her shoulders. I guess I always kind of painted you as a warrior, she admitted, playfully sticking out her tongue. Wendy nodded her head in agreement. Edo Lucy smiled. Come on, I know somewhere we can rest before I take you guys to the capital, she stated as they all stood up in preparation. Gritting their teeth. Naruto, Wendy, and Natsu were sitting around the living room of a small hotel room when Edo Lucy ran out of the showers. Take a look at this, guys. This girl has the exact same body as me. Dawn, she go out like that. Earthland, Lucy shouted, quickly wrapping a towel around Edo Lucy as Lilith poked her head out from the bath curiously.
Edo Lucy-san, you can't do that, Natsu-san is here, you know. Wendy scolded, trying to get the girls to go back inside the bathroom.
That doesn't bother me, Edo Lucy declared proudly as Earthland Lucy covered her up. It bothers me though, she shouted as Natsu leaned forward to get a better look at them. Daub, Lucy sure is lively, Happy stated, trying to impress Charles. That, you think you're saying something funny? The female cat asked, folding her arms across her chest, staring impassively at Happy. Naruto looked away, his face reddening as he scratched his chin. What's up, Naruto, want to see? Edo Lucy asked, moving to undo the towel that kept her body hidden from view. Suddenly Natsu puffed up his cheeks, trying not to laugh. What's so funny, Natsu? Earthland Lucy asked, leaning forward. I see you want to say something like Edo. Lucy has a better body than me to make me upset, right? She asked, staring at Natsu. Don't have a bath together with yourself, he stated before laughing as the two Lucys seemed to realize his point as their hair shadowed their eyes. I really don't get it, Naruto muttered as Lilith walked out fully clothed. Do you get the joke, Lilith? Naruto asked, turning to the scarlet-haired woman beside him. No, not really, she admitted in confusion. Rather, they're so alike I can't tell the difference between them.
Yeah, even their asses are the same, Naruto agreed. The comment earned him an odd stare from Lilith as Edo Lucy smirked while Earthland Lucy shouted at him not to say that. You too can perform the mimicry of a mirror, Natsu shouted, happily dashing around showing off what he meant. I won't, both Lucys shouted angrily. Their tempos are the same, Wendy muttered with a deadpan expression.
That's sad, Charles muttered, sitting next to Wendy. Just have Cancer fix up your hair, Naruto suggested, remembering Lucy's description of her spirits. How's this, Ebi? Cancer asked, placing his arms in a cross, two scissors in his hands. Ebi, Naruto and Lilith both asked in confusion. He's a crab, isn't he? They asked, staring at Lucy, who shrugged in response. This will solve the problem, Edo Lucy stated, smirking. Is that okay? Earthland Lucy asked, worried. Is there some sort of custom to treasure your hair in Earthland? Edo Lucy asked, confused about why Lucy was worried. Besides, it makes no difference between girls and boys when everyone tries so hard to survive, she stated, looking out onto the streets. We should get ready for tomorrow, Naruto stated as he headed towards the showers. No peeking, Lilith, he said, poking his head out from the bathroom. Shutting the door, they heard the water starting up as Lilith slowly began to sneak over. Edo Lucy began laughing as Earthland Lucy palmed her face, seeing her sneaking over to take a peek. I said no peeking, Naruto shouted, decking Lilith with a wash bin. Slamming the door shut again, the others just laughed as Wendy tried to drag Lilith away to her seat.
The next morning, everyone awoke to Lucy's scream of frustration. I can't believe this, she shouted, causing Natsu to grumble as he sat up, rubbing his eyes. Edo Lucy ran away, she shouted, showing them the note. Naruto grunted as he sat up, pushing Lilith off of him. Really? He asked, gesturing for her to hand him the note. The royal palace is 3 days east by foot. I'll go back to my guild. See you, and good luck, he read aloud before rubbing his head. Well, she did say she wasn't going to fight, Wendy stated, reminding them of Edo Lucy's intentions. Leaving the room, they handed the keys over to the clerk and left the building. Oh hey, a history book, Lucy shouted enthusiastically, causing everyone to trip and fall flat on their faces. She sure swings around her moods a lot, Naruto muttered, recovering from the fall. Suddenly a shadow fell over them. How's that thing? Naruto muttered, seeing what looked like a flying ship above them. An airship, one of the civilians in the crowd gasped as the group quickly hid themselves amongst the crowd. Hurry up, it'll be departing soon, soldiers shouted as they ran towards the ship. The Royal Army, Lucy muttered as Wendy pushed Natsu into her and out of sight as Naruto and Lilith quickly followed them, seeing that the crowd was being told to leave. The extraction of magical power from the giant lacrima starts the day after tomorrow. If you miss the airship, you'll miss the biggest event of the century, the guards shouted as they climbed aboard. Natsu folded his arms. They said giant lacrima, he muttered with a frown. They must mean Magnolia's townspeople, Wendy muttered worriedly. Once the extraction begins, they can never be returned to normal, Charles muttered dejectedly. Should we take over that ship? Natsu asked seriously. Wendy and Charles stared at him in shock, as did Natsu and Happy. Don't you mean sneak? Charles asked as Naruto palmed his face. I don't like hiding. We can't use magic, Wendy pointed out, seeing what Natsu wanted to do. Let's dismiss this suggestion, Natsu muttered, looking away nervously. No, we should do this, Naruto stated as Lucy stood up as well. We won't make it in time if we don't. Lucy, if you would. Open the gate of the lion. Loki, she shouted, pulling out his key. Instead of a lion, a maid appeared. Virgo? Lucy shouted in shock as the royal soldiers began charging at them. I'm sorry, princess, but Big Brother is on a date right now and can't be summoned, Virgo stated, causing Lucy to panic.